Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Wednesday, November 28, 2018 council presentation ceremony to order. We've got two presentations tonight. Ms. Bailey, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. This is my first council presentation, and it's a very important one. I'm so incredibly happy to have met some amazing people throughout this year. And now, during this time, I would really like to say thank you. If I could have the members of our Southwest Committee come up, please. Chairman Smith, Ms. Mallory, Pastor Stiles, Pastor Joseph. You know, especially during this time, you hear it's the most wonderful time of the year. And this group right here, they really work hard to make that same true throughout the year. Thank you. So I wanted to first thank you guys for all of your hard work. This past week, we were able to donate almost 400 turkeys and dinners to families that would have otherwise not been able to have a very nice meal. And we can't do what we do without the generous support of people in our community with big hearts, organizations that have just give countless hours to help put those bags together. And so this is a special little thing to say thank you. Chairman Smith, you want to say something?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, and general public. Just want to come out today and thank those who participated in this year's annual Thanksgiving turkey giveaway that the SWAC do every year along with Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey. And this year was real unique and special because right at the very last moment, we did not know where would we get turkeys from. It's just so hard to find turkeys and then find them at an affordable price for us to put back into the community. But there was no way this event would not have been possible without the help of community partners and those people who pitched in to really make this event possible. So tonight, we just, on behalf of Councilwoman Bailey and the SWAC, we just really want to honor those people who really made it possible for us to put help into our community. So we'll start one by one, and we'll just give a little background of that entity or that group that's here and have them come up and receive a certificate with Councilwoman Bailey and the SWAC committee. Is a representative from Walmart here? Here to receive the certificate on behalf of Walmart is the general manager of that store, Mr. Derek Oreger and Lourdes. We called all around different local stores here in Homestead, Walmart, Publix, and we tried Winn-Dixie, we tried Sedano's, but we went inside the neighborhood Walmart right off US 1 here in Homestead, and this gentleman, Derek, that's here tonight, the general manager, opened up his doors to us. They donated maybe over 100 turkeys to us in addition to the ones that we purchased, which was at a discounted price of 38 cents a pound, which is unheard of to be able to purchase turkeys that inexpensive. So Derek, on behalf of Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey and the Southwest Advisory Committee, we would like to present you with this award for your contribution to the Southwest Advisory Committee annual turkey dinner giveaway with the City of Homestead, Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. Another person that was a community partner for this event, which is a great friend of mine that each and every year contributes her time and expenses and finances monetary to events, and like to stay anonymous, but this year we had to recognize this person for what they did. They heard about what we're doing down in Homestead. I believe she lives in the North Miami or Kendall area, but still wanted to do something to support our endeavor down in Homestead. And if she's here, that's Rosanna Malau. Is she here? She's ducking back there. She's here. Miss Malau, can you come up and join us, please? Ms. Malau is an educator from Miami-Dade County Public Schools, John E. Ferguson Senior High School, and without her contribution, there is no way this event would be possible. So this is a certificate of appreciation to the Malau family for your contribution to the Southwest Advisory Committee's annual turkey dinner giveaway with the City of Homestead Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey. Thank you very much.
The ladies from AKA, can you please join us? Thank you again so very much. If we can have you say a few words about your organization, because it is a little new to me, okay?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and all those assembled here today. My name is Ann Pope. I'm the president of the Pi Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And with me is Linda Brown Etienne, who actually is the chairman of one of our health and wellness targets. We're basically an organization. We're the first African-American women's sorority that was founded. And we just basically do a lot of community activities. We like to support and improve the quality of life in the communities that we serve. And basically, we do that in a sisterly manner because we are sisters in our sorority. So we consider ourselves a big sisterhood. We're headquartered in Washington, D.C., and we're just delighted to be of service to all mankind, which is what our motto is as an organization. Thank you.
That is a beautiful motto. I love it. Thank you again so very much. If you want to hold this, I will sneak back over to this side. Thank you so much, ladies. Okay, another. So this lady here, she has helped us a few times now, and anytime that something comes up, she is always available and ready to help. Ms. Jessica Diaz, will you please join us? Thank you again so very much.
Is a representative here from Miami Bridge? Each and every year, just to give you a little background before he walks up, each and every year the SWAC hosts this event in Homestead, and not just in the turkey giveaway, but other events that we have that needs the help of community volunteers. The Miami Bridge, and I'll let your name is? DeMichael speak to the tune of what they do there, but each and every year, representatives and volunteers from their program comes over and helps us with each and every event that the SWAC has. And those are kids that still in school, that does it for community service, but they also do it because they have a passion for serving and giving back to their community. And without their help of you, Mr. DeMichael, none of that would be possible as well. So the certificate of appreciation is presented to you and the group over at Miami Bridge Youth and Family for your contributions to the Southwest Advisory Committee's annual turkey dinner giveaway with the City of Homestead Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey. Thank you very much.
Miami Bridge is a 24-hour temporary youth shelter in Miami-Dade County. We have 2 locations, one in the city of Homestead, the other here in the city, city of Homestead, the other in the city of Miami. We are a temporary residential program for youth at risk. So our program is for youth who are part of the DCF system, victims of human trafficking, DJJ, unaccompanied minors who are here in Miami seeking shelter. We also have a homeless youth program where we're able to take in youth ages 10 to 17, just for a safer environment, better opportunities for them. So we offer an array of services, individual as well as family counseling services, and also providing, healthy information and resources for behavior habits to just, enhance their ability to be within the community. So we're grateful for the opportunity to be able to help and give back to the community in which we live. So thank you, guys.
Can we please have our representative farm share? Well, I cannot imagine how all this food comes together for events like this, but it is amazing. I am really big into trying to help the youngsters especially, like their fruits and vegetables, especially in my preschool. That's something I push. And to be able to pack these bags with nice berries, blackberries and all these things that I know that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to try. We really appreciate all you guys do. It's an amazing thing. So thank you so much. Thanks again. Mr. Alpha Fleurimont. For those who don't know, Mr. Fleurimont runs a food pantry, has aftercare programs for our youth, and does a lot of great things in the community. He donated a huge pallet of these very nice fancy cookies, and they were definitely a hit. We had my son and some of our police officers just going through the crowds as everybody was waiting to have their number called. So it was a really nice treat. The kids were very happy, and people ended up taking packages home. So thank you for always thinking of the community and doing your part.
Okay. The Nates is a representative here from St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church. Okay. Without the help of St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church, each and every year, St. Paul donates staff and volunteers to be able to help make our efforts over at the turkey giveaway possible each and every year. And without their help, there's no way that event would be possible as well. So a certificate of appreciation is given to St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church for your contribution to the Southwest Advisory Committee annual turkey giveaway with the City of Homestead Councilwoman Jennifer Bailey and the Southwest Advisory Committee. Thank you very much for your contributions.
On behalf of the City of Homestead SWAT Committee, the Haitian Evangelist Baptist Church, we recognize them for their efforts and their outstanding support, as well as the volunteers that they have allowed to be able to play a part of this major event here in Homestead. On behalf of SWAT.
And before we depart, I would just like to give a special, if I may, Councilwoman Bailey, a shout out to Chief Roll and your phenomenal police officers that you have here in Homestead. Each and every year that we have the turkey giveaway, the community policing come over and they pitch in their efforts and helping make sure that event, first of all, runs smoothly, but they also pitch in their time and dedication to this event each and every year. And I want to say, Chief Roll, thank you, because your staff is a reflection of you, sir, and what you stand for in our community, in our city. And without those guys, there's no way that event will be possible each and every year. So thank you very much, Chief Roll, from Councilwoman Bailey and the Southwest Advisory Committee for having an outstanding community policing department here in Homestead. Thank you, sir.
That is how I wanted to end, along with all the staff from Parks. Even being there throughout the day, setting up, we had a bunch of people just coming in and out and telling us, I hope you know how awesome this person is and how great that person is. So thank you for making it feel like a community center and having some great people out there. And of course, Myrna, Selena, all of our staff, thank you so much. No, we also had an amazing donation the day after with some ready-made turkey dinners, and that was all because of Councilman Roth. So we were able to go out to some of the people who weren't able to come to pick up turkeys, and they had a ready meal, already forks, everything ready to go. So thank you, sir, for that. All right, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.
Ms. Bailey, was that it? Okay, well, we'll conclude this the presentation ceremony, and we'll can reconvene at 6 o'clock for the council meeting. Thank you all. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, November 28, 2018 council meeting to order. Time is approximately 6:03 p.m. This evening we'll have the invocation by Reverend Michael Stiles, the pastor of St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Ms. Faircloth. Councilwoman Faircloth, could you all please stand?
Gracious Father, we come to you on this beloved night. First of all, we just say thank you for allowing us to be able to assemble ourselves here in a government manner, Father. We ask as we come together collectively that you just be able to allow your blessings to shine on us. As Father God, we come in goodwill. Father, we ask that you allow us to continue to be good stewards over our city. Allow us, Father God, the opportunities to be able to expand beyond our own imaginations, but in your hands we will survive, Father, and we will strive for excellence in this city. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in honoring America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Reverend Stiles, for the prayer. Thank you, sir. And Councilwoman Faircloth, thank you for the pledge. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Ross.
Here.
Councilman Burgess. Here. Councilwoman Faircloth. Here. Councilman Maldonado. Here. Councilwoman Bailey. Here. Vice Mayor Shelley.
Here.
Mayor Porter.
Here. The additions, deletions, deferrals, Mr. Manager. You want me to, we got a deferral on 13 and 14, correct? Is
Yeah,
that,
James, did you want to speak to that, or do you just want to, what's the mechanism?
Just
to
that
do
we received a request from the applicant with regards to tab 13 and 14 for indefinite deferral at this juncture.
okay. That's all we have then, deferrals?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Tab 10, public hearings.
Yes, please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentation on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda.
I've spoken with Mr. Arza on TREO KINGMAN, 11 and 12. I think.
At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on any quasi-judicial item. If you'd like to speak this evening on any items, please stand, raise your right hand to be sworn by the clerk.
Please state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Tab 10 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting site plan approval for a 16-unit single-family residential subdivision on an approximately 3.7-acre parcel of property located east of Southwest 162nd Avenue and north of Southwest 320th Street, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Cordino?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are recommending that the mayor and council approve this requested site plan for the development of the 16-unit single-family subdivision on about 3.7 acres off of Farm Life Road. This was before us originally in 2015, I believe, and we approved it. We are bringing it back with you with a totally updated site plan with all the same conditions that were approved at that time that they would follow through on. So we're recommending approving, and the applicant can give you the details.
Any questions of staff? Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please. It's on.
Good evening, council members. Alex Arias, offices at 701 Brickell Avenue, representing the applicant SR Acquisitions LLC. As stated by Mr. Corodino, the property is approximately 3.7 acres and located east of Southwest 162nd Avenue and west of the Florida Turnpike. Again, this is a site that many of you are very familiar with, as in 2015, the council approved the site plan and T-plat for this proposed 16-lot, single-family residential subdivision known as Tropical Villas. Since that time, the owner has undertaken construction of the first phase of the project, which is situated just to the north of the site and which is almost complete. As the applicant was in the process of undertaking construction on that site and marketing those first phases, they failed to and omitted to pull permits on the property and have not undertaken development yet. They are now ready in order to proceed on that process. However, Section 3047 of your code requires that construction be undertaken within 1 year from the site plan approval date, and that is the time frame that we've missed. And so we have to come back before you in order to get a reapproval of the exact same site plan that was approved in 2015. As stated by staff, the proposal is consistent with the previous approval. There's nothing that has changed. It's the same 16 single-family units, same models, with private streets and a single entrance off Southwest 162nd Avenue. Additionally, and as set forth, it's in line with the comprehensive plan and city code, and it will further the city's vision to provide quality housing options for its residents. Additionally, it will contribute to the city's economic prosperity, creating much-needed jobs, enhancing the surrounding neighborhood, and increasing the city's ad valorem tax base. As such, we respectfully request your reapproval of the Tropical Villa site plan, and we're here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you,
Sir, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember when this came before us back in 15, there was quite a discussion about traffic and U-turns and not being able to cut directly in and out of the neighborhood. And subsequently, your firm represented another development that has the same problem, and that's where it's got me today. Because that firm, I mean, that development is right next to my neighborhood. So every truck, every car, every delivery, anything, does a U-turn, tears up our neighborhood, accidents and whatever. So I noticed for my colleagues on page 175 of our package, it said that you guys were supposed to do a traffic light study. Has that been done?
That was done during the first approval.
Okay.
Nothing's changed, and so the traffic study would remain intact as it was
Correct.
in 2015.
Yeah.
And I believe at that time, staff.
But I think we also discussed that night that you guys were going to go to the county and try to see what we could do to alleviate the concerns of council and that. So has anything been done on that?
I believe one of the things that were incorporated into the actual site plan at the time in 2015 is that we have 24-foot right-of-ways. That is above the standard required, and so that will provide some leeway and some.
But they still have to do a U-turn in and out, correct?
There is
to get there? I mean, if I'm looking at the site plan correctly on my package, there's no way for them to turn directly off the street and access the neighborhood without a U-turn, or if they wanted to continue to the south, they had to go north to do a U-turn first, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we did address the issues with the county, but unfortunately, this was the only access.
Unfortunately, I'm living through it every day now on something that I went reluctantly voted yes for. So tonight I won't be able to probably support this, but I'd like to see if my staff has anything to add to the questions or concerns that I've raised.
Yes, sir. The conditions are
Hold on, Joe.
Yes, sir. The conditions are the same. There are two conditions, numbers 3 and 4, in the approval that would still stand that the applicant hasn't addressed yet. The applicant shall conduct a signal warrant analysis study and submit it to Miami-Dade County for review. That would help with the signalization. And the applicant shall conduct a traffic operations analysis study, submit it to Miami-Dade County to review for the median cuts. The point was that the county needed to approve those things, and after the development was going, they would do those studies, submit them in the county, and we were hoping that that would gain us approval for the median cut and the signalization. Those are still part of the conditions for the approval of this development, yet undone. So once this is approved, they would be
They
required.
we would hope that something would be done
If,
by the county.
if those studies show that the signal and the median cut are warranted from an engineering perspective, they would be approved.
But
If they're not
unfortunately-
warranted, they would not be approved.
Right. So then you still, if they're not warranted, which most likely the county is going to come back and say they're not, because you're still going to have to do a U-turn there to get in and out of the neighborhood.
Correct, but then by
Because
engineering,
excuse me, it sits, this particular entrance would sit close to the one to the north, which is already opened, and to East Maury to the south. So that's the same problem we fell into on Kingman Road with the development that I referenced earlier, where they will not allow a cut-through. And now the neighbors are left there with the headache of U-turns every day and traffic and trucks and all that, so.
correct, if the county doesn't approve the studies, then those.
Right, because one, I don't think they'd allow a cut-through because it doesn't fall, I forget the exact measurements of distance, how many feet it is, but I know that this would probably not, would fall within the non-conforming, within the area of not needing a cut-through because of the proximity to other roads.
Okay.
My unofficial, unprofessional traffic engineer guess of where it sits. So anyway, I'll leave it for that for now, Mayor, and see if anybody else has concerns.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I guess to follow up on Councilman Burgess's line of questioning, and that was, so based on those two conditions that we had in the original approval and then ultimately are being proposed for this approval or this vote, potentially, so neither one of those have been done, correct? The signalization study or the cut study, or were they completed?
I know that the conversations have been ongoing. Information has been provided to the county, but I know that a determination has not been made by the county.
Okay, so neither one of those had been completed the first go-around during that first year or 2 year period
Exactly,
now?
because we hadn't even got into the actual construction process of it yet. So
Okay.
now is when we would really push forward with that with the county.
Okay, and then was the condition on actually being able to construct, they had to have the study done first, and then that was the condition to being issued any type of permit to proceed with construction? How did we end up wording that, do you know, or how would that be effectuated?
The wording is the approvals granted by this resolution are subject to the applicant's compliance with the following two conditions to which the applicant stipulated at the public hearing. And then we have five different conditions. Two of them are the ones that I just read relative to traffic. So they would have to do that. They would have to do those studies before construction. Now, the result of those studies, it doesn't say
Right,
that
it
they would
doesn't
have
say-
to earn the curb cut, but they would have to do the studies.
Right, the studies would have to be completed. We would know the results of those, then, the permits would be issued. That was a conditionary thing. Okay, and then secondarily, I guess my question is this, because some of my concerns are still the same now as they were the first time, which is, not only for this one, but as Councilman Burgess stated, we're getting into these small plots of land of they only have 10 acres or they're 20-acre pieces, so there's no two-way ins and two ways out. It's one way in, one way out, and they're starting to fill in now along our roadways. And so we're going to see this more and more, where a property owner has a right to build something on his property, but it may not result in a good result. You end up with the kindleization where you have a bunch of these small subdivisions all going in and out of the same place, and this is compounded by the fact that we have a bad intersection already that gets backed up. So from a legal perspective, what are our options there? I mean, what can we do about that? What safeguards can we legally put in? Because if we tell them, no, we don't like this because we think it's going to make traffic worse than it already is, but there's no condition we can place on it to make traffic better, what does that leave us? I mean,
From a planning perspective, and James can fill us in on the legal, I think that cross-access easements between developments like that would be useful because they then make internal circulation possible. I think that knowing the history of these types of things, those are very unpopular because the homeowners either feel less safe or that they're being subject to cut-through traffic or anything like that. But you're correct from the traffic point of view. There is no connected grid necessarily. Everything's got to pile up on those arteries, right. And that makes traffic worse. As where if you could circulate some distance to an alternative grid, it would make traffic better. But it may not be very popular. And I imagine
but in this particular case, the other subdivision's already been built, so I don't see cross traffic being an option, right? Because you can't eliminate a house to put in a roadway to connect this neighborhood to the one that was approved and built already. So.
No, but in the future, when we run across these small things, if we had something in the code that suggested cross-access easements, we could leave stub outs of roads
Right.
on one subdivision that would necessarily connect with the other. But right now, I don't believe we have that stipulation.
No. So I guess, James, my question, because I want to vote no because I don't like the result of what's going to happen, but at the same time, I understand this property owner has a right to build something. There's some legal right to do something with his land. So help me walk through that on what my analysis needs to be so I can make that decision.
So the standard for your review under this application is basically the evidence that's before you. You have an updated traffic study that was reviewed by your planning staff that indicates that the applicant meets concurrency and that there are not traffic issues or problems with respect to the amount or the volume on the roadway. You don't have anything to the contrary that would stipulate or say that that's not accurate. So unfortunately, in this situation, you're left with what's in the record, what testimony's been presented before you, and for you to base your decision on that information. That's the competent and substantial evidence factor that we talk about in these quasi-judicial hearings. And so,
Because I mean, I understand that part because that's where we are right now. But let's assume we up here believe that there's health, safety, and welfare issues of our own knowledge and of our own observations of how that intersection works and the safety issues that could result. Let's assume there's evidence there that would support some sort of decision that we made. I mean, what then could we do? I mean, because can you deny them outright and just say you can't build, or?
Well, I would caution you from doing that. I mean, the applicant, based on the staff report, based on everything that's in the record, they've met all the criteria of your code for site plan approval. So I think you have to be very careful with respect to doing a complete denial outright. I think you're very limited in this situation because the ingress and egress is on a county roadway, and the city doesn't have jurisdiction with respect to ingress, egress, curb cuts, signalization on those county roadways. So like in many instances where we've had issues before, the city's hands are somewhat tied. And so, without having something in the code or some sort of code structure whereby you would look at things holistically on a roadway or a grid, I'm not sure that there's much you can do in this instance. That's something that we certainly can look at with your planning staff to see what type of regulations, subdivision regulations, site plan regulations might be drafted that would help to address or alleviate the situation. But short of that, you don't have that at this moment in time with this application.
One last question.
You got the floor.
So the last question is, I think in the minutes before at the last meeting, there was some discussion about if the county did not think a traffic light was warranted, if they didn't think a cut was warranted. And I think a cut without a traffic light actually makes things worse, not better. But assuming a traffic light's not warranted, I think one of the things we asked was, well, what are our options as a city to either fund a traffic light itself or to otherwise solve the problem if we determine that we want to do so? Do we have any more clarity on that issue at this point?
Are you asking if we could put the signal up on our own?
I think that was the question that had been posed in the last meeting, and there was some discussion about they would look into what other options might exist between, then and the time of building.
I don't believe so. I believe on that road we need Miami-Dade County approval to do it. I think that even if it was our own road, engineering standards would dictate that it would meet a signal warrant analysis, which you'd have to meet, several of there's 12 warrants that allow you to do a signal, and if you didn't meet it, it wouldn't be warranted, and it would be, I guess it wouldn't meet engineering standards, and you shouldn't put it up.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a tough one. This was actually 3 years ago this month that we saw this particular one, which happened to be my very first council meeting. And I still feel the same way. I'm looking at a picture of the intersection right now, and it's that specific spot on, if you want to call it East Maury or Southwest 320th Street, that is heading west to 162 Avenue. is not even really conducive to someone making a U-turn there. The way that median is cut, it's actually blocking somebody from making a U-turn there. And when you've got traffic traveling north, coming west, merging into, people turning to the west off of 162, that specific intersection becomes very complicated to get through it sometimes. I travel that intersection almost every day, and I see it and I live it. And what I'm hearing from staff is we're kind of stuck here with our hands tied, because we're kind of, if we deny the application, then it may cause something else. But the reality of it is a traffic study that I'm looking at here, which is a very small thing. I didn't get to see, I guess, the whole study. I'm not sure what they're comprised of. Basically just says that the property has a right turn in and a right turn out, and that's acceptable. And I don't get that. I mean, you're not looking at, you're throwing people coming from the north that want to just go back to their home to the south. They're coming from the north. They have to travel south past their home. They have to attempt to make a U-turn in an area that's already messed up traffic-wise. You got people merging in, and you got it opening up to 2 lanes, and I can't see where that's safe. I just don't see where any reasonable person that looks at traffic thinks that that's okay. Because the majority of the people that are leaving that have to turn right eventually got to come back from the north to get back to their home. And it just doesn't make logical sense to me that we've got to throw them into danger. And that's dangerous there. And if you go down to make a U-turn at the next cut, which is East Maui going east on 162, there's been a numerous number of accidents there that are very, very bad accidents. Those aren't just little fender benders. There's been some rollovers and everything in that intersection. So if you send them down to that one to make a U-turn, I just don't. I mean, I'm with Vice Mayor and Burgess. I can't support sending people into that, but then again, we can't deny someone their right to build. Now, maybe we can deny the right to build single-family houses there. I don't know. But I just think with that 40 or that 80 acres, whatever's there that we approved 400 units on, is going to come into play sooner or later in the future, too. So we have to think about that as a traffic issue in that area, too. So you know, those are my thoughts. I don't know if there's a real solution to this, but you may.
Hold on, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
We are fully committed to submitting to the county whatever information is required from those conditions, and we would be open to not being able to secure our COs until we have submitted that information and met those conditions. That's something that may alleviate your concerns in the sense of us being able to build single-family homes until those conditions are met. What we are here for today is just to get the site plan approval in order to even begin pondering the building of these units. But we certainly have to meet the conditions that Mr. Corradino has set out. The traffic study is something that was prepared by us, but under the methodology of the city and the city's consultants, reviewed by the city's consultants. And the ingress and egress points and the traffic patterns are something that were approved by the city's own consultants in their review. So in that sense, you have the backing of your staff based on the traffic study. And from the standpoint of Southwest 162nd and the county's jurisdiction, we're fully committed to meeting those conditions and in working with the city to try to do whatever is necessary in order to address those issues.
I understand that, and I'm not saying that they're wrong in making that, decision. I'm just saying, from a common sense point of view, you're sending people into danger by sending them south on 162, asking them to turn it, make a U-turn. If you go out there and you look at that U-turn, I'm telling you, it's not set up for people to make U-turns. They're going to be trying to make U-turns there, and it's going to cause accidents. I know that. I know I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because I'm not sure after the legal aspect of this, what I want to do with this. I just want to put on the record that this is, for me, about the safety of other people. We're talking about 16 homes. We're talking about potentially 32 cars, multiple trips to an intersection that's just not even set up to make proper U-turns. If it was set up to make proper U-turns, I might think, okay, maybe it's not so bad. If they want to live in a place they got to travel south to get back to the houses to the north, okay. I just think that if somebody looked at it from a common sense point of view, they would agree that you don't want to send people into harm's way. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Joe, Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir.
Hold
we
on,
were just discussing maybe
wait a
if
second,
the
Joe, before you go.
I'm sorry.
Let's get some clarity, because in the last minutes, Julio said this road was a city road. Obviously, you've got jurisdictional aspects of asking the county, but what is this? Is this a city road or a county road? Because when we talked about replacing the bridge, when it was discussed that it was going to be our responsibility to replace the bridge, and so are these improvements that we're talking about on this roadway. You may have some jurisdictional aspect of the county, but the funds are going to come from us.
It's a city road. 162nd is a city road. However, when it comes to traffic signals or traffic signalization signs or any type of traffic movement, engineering is through the county, regardless of whether it's a city, county, state, federal road. It doesn't matter.
But if it's approved by the county to do an improvement on the roadway, who pays for that?
They will pay for it.
They will.
Yeah, it falls under their jurisdiction. It comes out of the road impact fees that are county fees, and it's paid by the county. They don't mind us paying for it, but they do have the responsibility to pay for it.
Okay, Joe, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that perhaps these studies be done prior to the approval, so we know that we know what the results are. If the applicant would proffer that, or perhaps we can just mandate that through this meeting. Let them do the studies. Let them find out that the curb cut can be built and the signal can be built, and then go forward with the public hearing.
And listen, it could be as simple as some deceleration lanes, because that is a lot of the problem, because one car gets into that queue to make that turn one way or the other, and the other cars have no option but to run in the rear of them, because it's dark out there, it's an under-improved roadway, and if you had a stacking deceleration lane possibly in both of those intersections, I drive those roads every day, and then people are looking for a place to hide to get out of the collision zone. So let me get Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you. To our staff, how long is a traffic study good for? Are they indefinitely, or?
They redid the traffic study.
Okay.
Now, our traffic study here is showing the capacity of the roads, right? That's what they do. Concurrency is just, do you have the physical capacity on the road that doesn't trip the concurrency standard? What we're being asked to look at now are what are operational issues that the county really needs to review to see if certain median cuts or signals are warranted. The analysis that we did didn't point to a level of service failure at an intersection or the roadway link, so there were no improvements like decel lanes or signals that were warranted through that. If there's a safety problem or an operational problem,
I've never seen one report that says it's a failure on a traffic study.
This shows it's a level of service B, so this is so far away from failure. But either way, so I think what you can do is you can ask the applicant to study the operations for curb cuts and signals prior to the approval.
Okay, thank you. You said no COs. My concern is the biggest concern is during the construction, because that's the stage where I'm at still in the neighborhood that's over by me. The dump trucks that are coming for the fill, the trucks that are coming in with the roofing, the trucks that are bringing the trusses, the cranes that come in for the trusses, the concrete trucks that come in and pour. There's nowhere for them to do anything down there, and those drivers don't care. We've gone to Ryan Homes and asked them to do stuff. They don't care, the drivers. I can't tell you how many of them have had wrecks at school hour mornings and all that stuff. So we've got to come up with a solution before this project gets off the ground, not when COs are being issued. Because over there is going to be even worse because the road is even tighter than where I live. And it goes from a 4-lane down to a 2-lane, a 2-lane to 1-lane on that side of the road.
Just before the good police officers doesn't send me away, Hugo Arza, 701 Brickell Avenue. Mr. Mayor, is it okay if
You're allowed to come up as a
Okay, yeah,
presenter.
no, I know. I just wanted to make sure because and I told him I just wanted to interject. I understand the concern timing-wise, and not to steal Alex's thunder because I already had suggested to him. Perhaps we could ask for a deferral. We will talk to the county, and Mr. Abreu is correct. Obviously, traffic falls under the county jurisdiction, and get a sense of likelihood. I frankly don't want to tie to approval because, as Councilman Burgess said, and many of you, it may very well be that it's not warranted to have the curb cut or a traffic signal there. But certainly to alleviate some of the concerns, rather than sort of putting the approval and the cart before the horse, why don't we respectfully ask for deferral? We'll engage with the county. We'll get a sense of the reports. We'll involve staff and what the outcome is going to be. And we'll come back to you, if not in December, more likely in January would be my guess, with some feedback on whether it's a viable option to do a curb cut or signage for the U-turns or something that maybe alleviates some of the concerns, because I can tell there's legitimate concern this evening. As the attorney stated, I mean, there's no other evidence on the record, but other than your knowledge, and you all know your community well, so we'd like to just offer that if it's your wish.
Mr. White, can they ask for deferral from?
Sure, certainly.
No problem.
You all can ask for it, or the applicant can ask for it.
Can you just ask for it?
I'll make a motion for deferral. Give the applicant time to talk to the
Motion is
county.
made and seconded. Okay, Mr. Maldonado.
Just a question in regards to the road. And Mr. Brea is here? I don't see him.
He's behind the board.
Hey, here you go. Sorry, I can't see you. It's actually kind of funny, talking to picture.
Let me ask you. Drop that down, sir?
Let me ask,
Thank you, sir.
In regards to this road here, is this our road or is this a county road?
It's a city road. It's a city road.
It's a city road.
Yeah.
Do we have any future plans for expansion on this road? Has there been any?
Actually,
talk?
there's the portion that's left to be widened in this roadway. It's about probably a third of a mile, if not maybe a little bit less than that, a quarter of a mile maybe. It's part of it was when we did our master plan, it's part of our long-term improvements.
Right.
The idea is that when this area gets developed, that the developers are the ones that build this portion of the road and finish it off. Basically, that's what all the other areas did prior to them.
Right.
So that is the mode of operation that we've always gone by. So that's where it's at in terms of our master plan and the way it is shown in terms of scheduling.
Are you guys, Cordino and Brea, are you guys working together in the sense of looking at the rest of the land that's still available, it's going to get developed, and when is this magic going to happen? Is there any?
Yes, sir.
Are you a revision?
There
or an
is a
update?
lot of potential future development in that area.
I mean, I know you guys use a lot of vague words, but I think that's something that we need to. I don't know if it's when and how, but I think it's something that we need to at least start to see some type of bubble list of potential dates or could be dates, or a sense of our priority as well.
Right.
And is it a funding issue? Is it a?
Well, I'll tell you now, the biggest problem with this section of the roadway is the bridge. There's a bridge that crosses a South Florida Water Management District canal there, and the widening of that bridge obviously costs a lot more than just doing a regular widening of a road. So that portion of the widening, it's going to basically involve most of the cost of that widening will be for the bridge, basically.
I see that, and I agree with my colleagues. I mean,
so it's a high expense for a very short segment of roadway to be widened.
So I guess my ask would be that you guys start looking into that in the sense of getting some numbers, and if we have developers that are here now and the ones that are coming, at what portion do they start, chipping into this pot helping us out to develop this because, I mean, we've spoken about this when they were talking about the property across the street. We're talking about 300 apartments and townhomes across the street from that. And and the conversation was that, excuse me, that bridge, and I remember that developer, I think, even proffered to help out with some of the development because that was hindering them as well. I think they sold it from my understanding. So, here we have a development across the street.
Sure.
We have this one here, and any future one. And that road is heavily used now. Matter of fact, I by accident came down that road and was backed up almost to 160, about a block after a block into 162. I was backed up until US 1. So those back roads need a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just wanted to kind of bring that, back to the forefront. And I think we had the discussion again the other day. We're talking about Mr. Cordino. We had spoken about, and I brought up the fact that, we're having the same issue we're dealing with on 312th Street. A lot of developments coming down the pipe. What are we doing to get, ahead of this? And so, kind of bringing that up to your attention again. It's going to be a continued discussion moving forward. So, that's it for me. Thank you, sir.
All right, there's a motion to defer and a second to defer. All in favor of deferral? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Moving on to tab 11. Tab 11 is the resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a variance request from Section 30-111 primary uses of the City Code of Ordinances to permit next-gen units within the one-family R1 zoning district for the Kingman Commons single-family residential subdivision located at the southwest corner of Southwest 152nd Avenue, Kingman Road, and Southwest 320th Street, Maui Drive, is legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. We're recommending approval of this variance request. What this would do is allow the applicant to have a different type of single-family housing unit, which would have a variety of amenities that really allow extended families to live more comfortably together. It was approved these next-generation units would be within the R1 zoning district for the Kingman Commons neighborhood. This is a relatively complicated type of, or controversial type of application because we are dealing with a piece of city code for this area that was written for kind of a different time and a different place, and it starts to talk about the presence of a sink or similar amenities as something that you can't do. The applicant had come forward with a variety of options early on that we thought just simply didn't work and didn't accomplish the goal of what they were trying to do. And we worked very closely with them, weeded out a lot of things that, in our mind made these things look and behave like duplexes until we got down to something that we believe looks and behaves like a single-family home. It's not bigger. It has minor amenities in it that make it more comfortable for extended families to live together. The applicant believes, as we do, that this is a common American lifestyle. They see it from a marketing perspective, and we see it across the state and the country from the perspective where families have older parents that live with them, and sometimes older children that live with them. This makes it more comfortable. It doesn't act as a second unit. It's a single family home, and we feel that we've regulated it with a covenant that legally doesn't allow it to be rented if that's in case the fear of it. So this is a case where we were looking at the code critically, working with the applicant to find something that will work. I think we've got a better product than we started with, and actually something that's better for the city. But I'll let the applicant explain in greater detail. We're recommending approval.
Any questions to staff from council? Mr. Arza?
Thank you. Hugo Arza, once again.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm good?
Yes, sir.
Hugo Arza, 701 Brickell Avenue. And here I thought Alex's application was the easy one tonight. So bear with me while I try and gather my bearings after having to jump up during his. I want to thank staff for their recommendation because I think, Mr. Cordino hit it on the head. code provisions are sometimes written at a time, in a period in time when they're drafted to address a current situation or problem. The code provision we are varying from in this case is the preamble language in R1, the very first 2-3 sentences of the R1 that talks about the kinds of uses, and it's very clearly like thrown in at the end of that section, and it talks about the presence of garages being converted, and then it has a standalone sentence, which is the one that gets us, that basically says the presence of an additional sink or fixture or kitchen fixture or anything of that type is evidence that this section is being violated. Just a very sort of like catch-all phrase. And so as I've mentioned to a couple of you in the conversations I've had with you regarding this item, in fact, a wet bar tripped that up. You couldn't have a wet bar in the R1. Now, I suspect there are wet bars in the city of Homestead. They probably didn't get them permitted, but, that would be a sink or an additional area. So, and obviously that is not the intended consequence. The intended consequence was to eliminate retrofitting, converting a garage, doing so in a manner in which they weren't taking the other elements into account that doing that would occur, right? The salient difference here, obviously, is that because this is a planned community, because these units have not been built, we can account for some of those concerns and the problems, and we can ensure that that the concern with having that can be mitigated through some other actions. And so, like I said, we work closely with staff to try and address those concerns. There are 3 models that would be approved and would be then up for sale, and we would have to see how many of those folks or how many of those sold. 2 4-bedroom models and a 5-bedroom model, a 1-story and 2 2-story models, and that's all there before you. And basically, these models would have a separate room inside the home, and we have the floor plans here if anyone wants to look at them, that while having access from the outside, also are interconnected inside. And one of the other points that I know I've pointed out is, I certainly would understand if this had no connectivity inside. It would be hard to argue that this is going to be utilized by, grandma or grandpa or the college-age kids or the recent graduates who are trying to get a leg up and save a couple of dollars before they can move out on their own and all of that. But the interconnectivity keeps it as a single-family home. I mean, it is a single-family home, and the grandparents are no less a member of that family, a relative that's living there, a child that comes back home, or whoever may live there is no less a family member, and they're still a part of the family unit. They just have an opportunity to have some privacy, some extra space in what is a growing trend in the community. And so, that again is a distinguishing factor that I think helps to inform a little bit why staff is recommending approval of this case. The square footages of these homes are in keeping with the square footages of the homes that are already approved for this community. Of the 3 next-gen models, you've got basically a 2,200 square foot under AC, a 2,900 and a 3,100 square foot. So, you're not, these homes don't grow exponentially because you add this next-gen unit. They don't become a 5,500 square foot, McMansion, where you say, oh, now it's out of character, out of scale. Not at all. They are basically the same type of footprint. And as I've explained to some of you and when I've spoken with you, the only difference is this room, instead of being a separate bedroom, which, these houses all meet lot coverage and everything else, this could simply be another bedroom. Just has the additional flexibility of having the sink and a kitchenette, and has access to the outside. But, rooms have access to the outside all the time from homes too, right? I mean, there are terraces that you reach and all that. So what we've tried to do is, try and accommodate the concerns. And the main one, obviously, is, that this not become something that gets rented out. In order to try and assuage that concern, we have, as staff noted, offered a declaration of restrictions that would place, obviously an obligation that there can be no rental of these units on a standalone basis, so these cannot be rented out by the homeowner to anyone, first of all. And that, secondly, every contract for sale that sells a next-gen unit has all of this language clearly stipulated that they can't be rented out. In addition to that, the HOA documents and other documentation that the community has are also will also contain similar prohibitions. The second concern, besides rentability, is, and let's hit it off right now, is the parking concern, right? I mean, so you're intending for an additional unit. 2 points about that. I mean, one, to the extent that, for instance, one of these is and I have it here. It actually has a 3-car garage. I mean, the bigger model, the 5-bedroom model, has a 3-car garage. And so you've got the ability to park 6 cars, right? You've got 3 cars and then the driveway right behind it. And I know I've spoken with some of you, and we always hear about, well, they may use the garage for something else. We understand that, but we are designing the community in a way to address that problem. From an enforcement standpoint, the HOA can enforce and ensure that folks don't spill out or park where they shouldn't park by, you know, citing them and doing what's necessary, as any HOA would. And I'm sure some of you here, I know some of you here live in communities with HOAs. I'm sure you're very familiar with you know, sort of how they function and how they work. We design it in a way that the parking is, you know, that there is parking for that home. And again, the square footage is not so large that we're anticipating that anyone can live in any of these units, you know, an extra family or, I mean, this is just an additional room. I mean, this is almost like an additional bedroom. So again, the intent is a grandparent, a child, a family member who's living at home, not that, you know, 4 or 5 other people are going to live. Not unless we think that 4 or 5 people are going to live in literally in a 1-bedroom, you know, 20 by 15 room. Which again is an enforcement concern more than a design concern. So again, you know, we think that with the changing times, and the last point I'll make is that your community already has these. I mean, Napa, Sonoma in the Vineyards have next-gen units, and Barbados in Oasis have next-gen units. The reason being because those are PUDs. The PUD zoning regulation doesn't have that catch-all. If you have a sink, you're in violation. That's only for the R1, which is the zoning code here. So I remind you all, this is a project that was cut in half in terms of the density from what was at one point approved. Is now 247 units. That remains. Obviously, this doesn't add any units. Actually, under construction, it's open. There's already residents living there. This would only be for the homes moving forward. This is a project that is going to just promote a type of home that is already existing across the street in the case of Oasis and down the road in the case of Vineyards, and that we have seen great reception for in your community. And the last point I would say is, I am not aware, and I have asked, I am not aware of any complaints to the city that the next-gen units have generated. I'm not saying that there isn't an HOA complaint somewhere because someone thinks that they were renting it out. That is the process. That is what should happen. And those of you who live in an HOA are nodding like, yeah, that's how it kind of works out. People see something going on. But to my knowledge, these have not created an issue for the city. I know that was important for a couple of you. I'm not aware of it creating any kind of issue for the city and complaints to the city. So again, we would respectfully request that you approve this next-gen request. Let us you know, provide this additional sales type. This won't replace, it'll be in addition to, and it'll just be an option for your future residents and their families. And I know it'll be a big success. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess one thing that gets me is you speak of the covenant and how that could be enforced. And then you speak about if they are rented, it would become an HOA. So the problem is being passed from the developer who comes and builds, takes the profits, leaves, and then leaves the problem for everybody else to handle. Is there no way, I mean, to me, that's not fair. The city is overburdened already with its code compliance department, and if this does become an issue, it's a lengthy, probably I don't know, Colonel, a 5 or 6 month process before anything would even be done, if the city could even get anything done. Is that approximately correct?
Councilman Burgess, the normal process, I would say the minimum would be 3 to 4 months, yes, sir.
So, and then it just becomes a burden. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but we know in my own neighborhood, we've got an HOA who says you can't sublet, yet we have tenants that come in, and then when the HOA shows up, they go their family, and you've got no recourse at all. And we know that happens because they're not even the same name or anything. So those are the concerns. And then when you talk of cars, I will pay you whatever you want. I want to see you park 3 of your cars in that garage.
I only own 2, so my wife and I.
Well, we'll bring mine, and we'll see if we can get 3 cars in there, because we've got 3-car garage houses in my neighborhood that you can barely get a car and a half into. So I would say that your argument sounds great on paper and in theory, But in reality, it doesn't work, and we see that all over as people fill their garages with necessities and things like that.
I think I agreed.
So,
I said that was that I knew I would hear.
No,
that people
I'm
use
just
their
I'm just
garages.
reiterating my thoughts that I have written down here.
If I may, on the declaration of restrictions, it is in favor of the city. The city would have enforcement rights. I mean, I think that's why you were asking how long it would take, but it's not
we don't have
just
the manpower to do that.
I understand. I understand.
Or the time. That we've got many other things we need to worry about other than going around and
I tried to address that by suggesting that there are already these homes in the community, and I've asked, have there been complaints?
They were voted on in like 2004 or 5. So.
No, but whether there were complaints or not, because I mean, they already exist.
I wouldn't know unless an HOA person was here tonight, and unfortunately.
No, to the city. I mean, even to the city is my concern. But no, I understand. But you do have enforcement action power through the declaration of restrictions.
So no other traffic study is warranted because we don't feel that there's enough cars to warrant one, or what? Because if you have a millennial family that's living there with a 20-year-old kid, and then all of a sudden they've got their girlfriend too, and boom, 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 or grandma and grandpa come, and they both have more cars and all that. So just to check on.
No, sir. It's just a single-family home. It functions like a single-family home. It's approved with the same amount of bedrooms, basically, as it had before. And single-family homes generate a certain amount of trips, and this is no different. So no need for.
In reality, it's being called a single-family home, but and there may be one single family under there, but they're inviting more adults to stay at the home than a typical single-family home. Would that be correct?
I'm not sure. I think that this makes it comfortable for makes it more comfortable for the lifestyles that people are currently already living. And so if that was correct, the traffic engineering manuals, Institute of Transportation Engineers hasn't caught up with the lifestyle change yet to have studied the impact. So there are no additional requirements in the manuals that we use.
I love those manuals, by the way.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate your love for this.
You speak in one of your answers, Mr. Orza, or whoever wrote the answers for you, there is truly a demand for these. How do you come about that other than perhaps it drives the price up and
I come about it, if we're being so conversant, I come about it because I don't think my client would undertake hiring us to go through this process and try and get these approved if they didn't feel that there was a demand for them to sell. I also come across it by telling you that your city already has 3 communities that have these. Lennar built out those communities, and there's a market demand. I don't know if the question is what kind of demand, a market demand. Obviously, we're going through this process because we think there are buyers that want to live in your city that would be receptive to this type of home.
And they're much needed. Why? Other than that's what the
because when a family is looking for where to live and they have a circumstance where this is going to appeal to them, having this ability to have a family member in close proximity but with some freedom and some independence, they're going to look for these types of units. And so if the choice is to buy in your community, and look, the 247 homes are going to sell at some point. And
as they already are.
Huh?
As they already are.
They are, exactly. And so not everybody is going to, my point is, not everybody's going to, want to buy one of these types of homes. It is a choice for some families who may say, hey, look, my kid's 19 or 20 and in college, this is perfect because in a couple of years they may be back here living with me, or they're living with me now, or grandma's getting older, grandpa's getting older. It's just for certain families. We understand. We can get a little flowery with our language as lawyers, and so, great demand.
I had more responses that made me laugh
as
I read them.
I like to make sure that, I appreciate you reading them. I'm not sure anybody else reads what we write, so I actually do appreciate that. But I think that
prosperity
the market bears.
And
the
viability
market bears
by creating much-needed jobs. I'm not sure how these homes are creating jobs for the city of Homestead.
The construction, certainly to the extent that the sale
any home out there is going to create the same job.
I know you're just, it's been a long day. I know you're just,
And then tell me the next one on number 7, page. How does it enhance the attractiveness and visual appeal of a surrounding neighborhood?
That's look. I think actually on that one.
I mean,
on that one,
I will say, you guys put up there are laughable.
What either I or whoever wrote it for me, as you put, was going for is the fact that it was important to us to show that they looked like single-family homes, right? I mean, we didn't want it to be something where it's detached. I mean, this looks like a single-family home. I mean, you don't look at this and say, oh, that's got an extra unit. You don't look at any of these and say, oh, this is an extra unit, or you can't tell. And that is, I mean, that visual appeal is important because you don't want to create, differentiation. I mean, you want a single-family community to look like a single-family community, even if it has this element. But I know, are there any more, is there any more
Well, I know
flowery
you
language?
guys are looking for a variance tonight.
We are looking, obviously the
So-
request is for the variance.
Tell me why this hardship should be overlooked and you guys should be given the variance
Well,
tonight, because
look,
it's kind of a self-inflicted hardship if I look at it in my eyes, and other people may look at it differently.
No, I certainly understand, the question. I would say, I mean, obviously the code, and that's why I started with it. I mean, the code prohibition, sort of blanket prohibition on any sink or anything else occurring, I think is what leads us to do it as a variance. I mean, one of the thoughts that we had was to change the code, to perhaps have it be that the code not have that language, and I think the concern with that was that it would be then applied citywide, and then so if you simply change the code and maybe cleaned up the language in the R1, then you wouldn't have the benefit of someone coming in, like in this case, with a declaration of restrictions with other protective measures. And so, I mean, it's self-inflicted when you say, obviously we're making the request to build this type of home. We don't have to build this kind of home. I get that. I can't sit up here and tell you, well, this is the only kind of home Lennar sells. That's not true. But again, the code, I don't think is intended to stop this. The code, if you read the prior sentence, but it's inarticulate, is talking about converted garages. And so I really don't, I mean, I try and tell my clients that, applying for variances is a tricky business. But in this case, I really think that this is a section that was intended to apply to some other problem that was going on with converted garages and the like, and that ours is a different type of situation with a planned community. And so that's why I think we moved forward with the request, and why ultimately we got staff's recommendation. So
I'll give my colleagues some time. I'll be back to you, but I'll give my colleagues some time.
Ms. Fairclough.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to weigh in on this a little bit and come from my perspective. If the issue or concern is the fact that the living quarters will be potentially rented out, I think that may be an issue citywide, because it's happening citywide, but garages are being converted. In my community, which is a townhome community, it's being converted. I know in every single district, there are some homes being converted and being rented out. But why I like this product and why I will be supporting this tonight is because I don't feel that all potential homeowners should be painted by the stroke of the same brush, because there are some homeowners who legitimately need these type of homes for their family, and this is my truth. I have family members who are dependent upon me. So I was actively seeking to purchase one of the homes when my mom was living with me. Now I have a special needs brother who lives with me. So this resonates for families like mine. So I support this. I spoke to several homeowners. I have 107 homes across the street from me. Spoke to Mr. McDuffie. Is this impacting your quality of life? Has traffic been impacted by it? And the answer is no. Are there some homeowners over there renting out? Yes, I know this for a fact. But is it rampant? Is it prevalent? No, it's not. So I'm going to support this tonight, and I ask my colleagues to do the same. I would also like for Mr. McDuffie to come up and eventually give his perspective, but these are beautiful homes. The community is a beautiful, vibrant community, and the homes being rented out, it's not impacting the quality of life. So I'm going to support this agenda item tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. It's funny, as I was hearing him kind of, paint the picture of who's going to be, living in these, and so I have a 20-year-old daughter now, and she's in college, and, she's, once you're 18, you're an adult, but, they're going to school, and, unfortunately, she didn't go away to college. She wanted to stay here with me, fortunately.
You said fortunately.
Yeah, I
Just
said
for
both.
the record, I wanted you to
I tried to get her to go, but yeah, she wanted to hang out here. And so, funny enough, she said, you're not planning to kick me out anytime soon. I was like, no. But the point is that, I'd be one of those families that would want a product like this. I think it would work, where, my 20-year-old could come in and go as she's doing already without, making all the noise and fuss in there. And so I like this product, and I've stayed abreast of, urban development and throughout the U.S. And this is something that was happening in these much populated areas in California and on the West Coast, where these new zonings are now being approved and used more just because of that same fact. You have a lot of family members that are having to live with each other for whatever the reason is. Look, my father lives with my brother now. So, that's just the state of what's happening in today. Maybe back in the days it was, you went off, you got married and you left and everything was peachy and everything worked, but we're living in a new time. And so I think this is a good product. It's a product of our time and age. And so, I will support this as well. And, hope that this is something that, continues to come forward because it's a good product. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Sir. Any other questions from council? I'm going to open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone from the public, welcome to come at this time. Just name and address for the record, please.
Hello, folks. Edward Powell, 745 Southeast 18th Lane in Keysgate. Well, Mr. Burgess, you and I, we happen to live in Keysgate, and we happen to drive Kingman every day of the week. And I want to tell you, in the next 2 years, you will not be able to get out of your residence to get on Kingman to go anyplace. You've got Porta Vida, our friends, with 400 or 500 cars going to come out there, and we got another 100 coming out of One Palm. We've got another 100 coming out of Oasis, and then they want to build 171 down in the Park of Commerce. Now you're going to put 1,000 cars on that road, and you're going to be able to travel it, forget it. And it sounds nice. Sell the sizzle, forget the steak. What a beautiful idea. Well, here we've got a project that I was involved with 5 years ago. It's a beautiful project. It's not broke. Why fix it? All you're doing is letting the developer pack more density in the basis of next gen. Mr. Cordino said it's a great product. How many do you have in your town? How many in Palmetto Bay? How many next-gen units do you have? Great product, right? Nice product, okay? Great product, not in his town. Okay, it doesn't belong there. It's a great product. It's not broke. Don't fix it. And if you pass it, shame on you all.
Stephen McDuffie, 139 Southeast 36th Avenue, Homestead, Florida, Napa in the Vineyards. I have to say I have one of the Zinfandel models, and I know that's one of the big models that has sold real well in my community, also in Sonoma in the Vineyards, and I've seen a few being built over on the Kingman area. My family is one that needed it. My family is an immigrant family, moved them over from their country, and we use it as intended. And spoken at length with Councilwoman Fairclaw on this, being that this area is a very highly immigrant families, Latino, Asian, others like that, I say it is a very needed product for Homestead, especially for my generation, as we are looking to live more closely connected with our families, and as our parents get older and stuff like that. So I say support it, please do, and I'm happy with the product.
Sir. Any other comments? I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Mr. Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a couple points have been made here tonight, and I too, in the position now where I would love to have one of these homes, as I recently moved my mother in, who can't care for herself as much as she used to, into my home. And, times have changed in our area. The culture has changed in our area. Homestead has changed over the last 15 years. As evidence in the way the code has been written that we're talking about tonight, where, as Mr. Arza said, that there's probably a third of the homes in the city that may be in violation with a wet bar, which, so be it. And garages are being converted illegally all over the city. when I first heard of the next gen product, not today, not yesterday, but about 5-6 years ago, actually when they were building Oasis, I said, what a cool concept. You know, you can actually bring your mother, your father, and care for them in their final days as well. Sure, you're going to have some people who abuse that particular product, but there's abuse everywhere. And I happen to think that, you know, it's a very good concept for families, and I think it's even bringing families closer together when you can help one another out too. So I'm going to support this as well. I'm not looking at traffic tonight on this one. I wish I probably could, but you know, it is what it is at this point, and I think we'll just have to deal with those issues in the future. I mean, Kingman is a widely used road right now. I think it's been much improved, and maybe those that live on that side can talk about or, you know, confirm that that turnpike entrance has helped a lot of the traffic leaving the area. I'm not sure about how it helps coming back in, but those are for future issues for us to resolve. But as far as this goes, I'm going to support this. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman.
Any other comments from any comments from council? Is there a motion? Tab 11. Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Faircloth? Councilman Burgess? Councilman Ross? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Councilwoman Bailey? Vice Mayor Shelley? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 12. Mr. Cordino, Mr. White.
Yes, moving on to tab 12. Tab 12 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting site plan modification approval to permit development of a 3,192 square foot clubhouse at TREO KINGMAN instead of the 5,504 square foot clubhouse previously approved for the approximately 77.3 acre single family subdivision located at the southwest corner of Southwest 152nd Avenue, Kingman Road, and Southwest 320th Street, Maui Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Cordino?
Yes, sir. We're recommending that the mayor and council approve the site plan modification request. We initially saw this in 2015. The council passed a resolution there for site plan with about 250 single-family homes at the density at the density of about 3.18 units per acre. At the same time, the development included a clubhouse, and that clubhouse was to be about 5,500 square feet. It would have a kitchenette, an exercise room, an IT room, some generous common spaces. These modifications here would effectively provide the same amenities with 42% less space. So I'm going to let the applicant go through it. We've looked at it, and effectively the rooms in there are basically the same size, and they've cut out a foyer and patio area and things like that, but they can provide the same amenities they had provided before in less footprint. So we're recommending approval.
Mr. Arza?
Once again, Hugo Arza, offices at 701 Brickell Avenue. Again, I want to thank staff for working with us in the recommendation of approval. When this community was, when the site plan for this community was approved back in 2015, I know because I worked on that project that the development group at the time who developed it prior to Lennar purchasing it, you know, obviously wanted to provide an amenity, but did not have the experience and the track record of, you know, communities with clubhouses that Lennar has, developing them all over, not just your city, but South Florida in general. As a result, the site plan as proposed had a very large, for the community, and oversized for this community in the number of units, clubhouse. And when Lennar purchased the property and started developing the property, they obviously purchased what was approved at the time, but they have a model and a system that they have in place for the sizes of communities, generally speaking, and the demand that there is. And a lot of factors go into it, and I want to talk about a couple of them. While I've met with some of you and discussed with some of you, there were questions regarding how this, if it's reduced, how it would compare to existing communities and the like, and also the cost savings that might be generated, because we touted and I spoke about some of those, and so I'm going to also get to those also. But one of the things to keep in mind about this community is that it's a strictly single-family home community. And not only is it a strictly single-family home community, meaning there's no townhomes or any other type of unit. It is also one in which this council, pretty much everyone except perhaps for Councilwoman Bailey, insisted, because you weren't here, not that you wouldn't have insisted, insisted that this community be, no variances for lot sizes. These are full 7,500 and larger square foot lots. For those of you that live in homes with larger lots like that, you obviously have more of an opportunity for private recreation space. I think we all recognize that in communities with folks who live in townhomes, I mean, you may have a little bit of a backyard, but it's small, and we all, and there's a purpose for that, and families grow into bigger homes and all of that. But, the clubhouse is kind of the center of attention for just about all the recreation you want. When you've got 247 single-family lots, all of which are at least 7,500 square feet, and some others are 8, 9, 10,000 based on the configuration, you have a lot more opportunity. And as such, the experience that Lennar has is that there isn't quite the same demand on the clubhouse and some of the facilities in the clubhouse. So they proposed, in their words or my words, sort of right-sizing it, making this clubhouse be a little bit more consistent with the size of the clubhouses that they have in other communities based on the size and the number of units that there are. And so they have done that. But I think what is salient and what Mr. Corradino mentioned is that they did that in principally by eliminating what I would call, if we were talking about a restaurant, sort of back-of-the-house functions, right? Sorry, Councilman Maldonado, but the IT room had to go. I know that's near and dear to your heart, but there's no IT room, there's no office. The foyers and the corridors were made a little smaller. What was not touched was the great room and the exercise room are consistently sized. I think they're like 1 foot difference. I mean, they kept those rooms consistently sized. And so the usable space, frankly, is going to remain the same. The pool area is going to remain the same. The amount of parking that was proposed, all of that will remain the same for this clubhouse. But by reducing the footprint of the clubhouse, the cost savings generated by the residents on an ongoing basis, because the smaller clubhouse doesn't require any kind of full-time staffing, is on the order of magnitude of $555 a year. I mean, that is what the budget for this community proposes if there is no full-time staffing, which would be required with a bigger clubhouse. So, the total club dues as currently approved would be $1,824.05 a year. If this is modified, it drops to $1,268.48, which is a $555 savings. So a lot of times, on an earlier matter, we talked about how the HOAs get saddled, with responsibilities moving forward, and the developer leaves. In this case, this request by the developer actually leaves the HOA in a better position in the long run, because the residents of that HOA are not, forced to pay the higher dues because the clubhouse requires more, more costs and is more costly. The board that I have up here, which is a little hard to read, talks a little bit about the clubhouses in 10 communities, including vineyards in your city, but 10 all over Miami-Dade County. The square footage of the clubhouse compared to the number of home sites that there are, and if modified, this request or this clubhouse would be almost 13 feet per home, 12.92 feet per home, which would make it larger on a per square foot basis than all but 2 communities that Lennar has. So it would be in the top, 3 of 11. This would be the 11th community that we would be comparing in that. Somewhat embarrassed to say that Vineyards is bringing up the rear in that calculation. I'm sure that's not music to Councilwoman Fairclough's ears, which is probably why she asked me for a lot of this information, because she wanted to know. Unfortunately, Vineyards is the smallest per square foot home community in terms of the number of units and the size of the clubhouse. This, even with the reduction, would be, again, on a per square foot per home basis, 3 times larger than the Vineyards community. That's not, obviously not, when I got the data, I knew exactly what Councilwoman Fairclough was going to look at, and with good reason. But, I think that With respect to this particular community and this clubhouse that the residents of this 247 home community are going to do, this is the right decision for them. Let them have the amenities without the extra expenses. Let them enjoy a clubhouse experience, but not be saddled with the additional costs associated with it. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have, but we would ask that you consider favorably this modification. It's technically a modification of the site plan because it's contained in the site plan, but I assure you, and again, there's no change to any other aspect of the site plan. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any of the questions or to justify my letter of intent. Councilman Burgess, if you have any questions for me on the letter of intent.
Ms. Fairclough?
Thank you, Mayor. I had grave concerns with this when I saw this because I didn't understand the rationale for the reduction in the footprint of this clubhouse, and I asked for very specific information, and I knew the data would yield what I had thought about was the fact that the Vineyards Clubhouse, it's extremely small, and I don't think it is adequate for the amount of homes in my community. I believe we have close to 1,100 homes over there, 1,072. 1,072 homes in the Vineyards community, and our clubhouse is very small. So when I saw that you were considering reducing the size of the clubhouse over there, I didn't want them to experience what we are experiencing in the Vineyards. But because the amenities aren't being impacted by this reduction, I will be supporting this item tonight.
Thank you, Council.
Any other questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, close the public comment section. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you. I guess one quick question would be that the people that have already bought and are out there, they've been made aware of what you guys were proposing?
Yes. That there's a request in to reduce it, so it's been disclosed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado? Vice Mayor Shelley? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. So we pulled tab 13. We pulled tab 14. Mr. White, tab 15.
Yes, moving on to tab 15. Tab 15 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the rezoning of an approximately 0.61 acre parcel from liberal business B3 zoning district to government property GP zoning district for a city-owned property located at 301 Civic Court, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second and final reading.
Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. We're recommending approval of this. Again, we saw this last month as in the first reading. If you have any questions, we're here to answer.
Any questions from council on tab 15? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to speak on tab 15, you're welcome to come forward. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion on tab 15? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess? Councilwoman Fairclough? Councilman Maldonado? Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Gone.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
You need to, we can't hear you, Madam Clerk, so maybe your mic's a little low or high. Thank you. Tab 17.
16.
16, excuse
Yeah,
me.
moving on to tab 16. Tab 16 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida.
Hold on, these mics got a mind of their own tonight. Okay.
Second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the rezoning of 6 parcels totaling approximately 1.04 acres from the restricted retail commercial B1 zoning district to government property GP zoning district for city-owned properties in the downtown area, generally located south of Northwest 2nd Street, west of Chrome Avenue, north of West Mallory Drive, and east of Northwest 1st Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second and final reading.
Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. We're recommending approval. Again, second reading. It passed both Planning and Zoning Board and Council without opposition as it went through.
Any questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing on tab 16, second reading. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Maldonado? Councilwoman Faircloth? Councilman Burgess? Vice Mayor Shelley? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 17.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 17 is an ordinance for second reading. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City of Homestead Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 28, Utilities, Article 2, Water, Division 2, Service Rates and Charges, Section 28-41, Rate Schedule, and Section 28-44, Water Use Charge, amending Chapter 28, Utilities, Article 3, Sewers, Division 5, Services Rates and Charges, Section 2-141, Rate Schedule, and Section 28-142, Sewer Use Charge, to provide for an increase in water and sewer rates, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, as this is the second hearing on this issue, the last hearing I did a fairly lengthy presentation. I'm assuming you don't want to hear that a second time. If you do, I can queue up the machine. Otherwise, I can just reiterate that
I think because it's televised, I think we probably should tell the public and show them the difference is why these rates are being looked at.
So you want me to go through the presentation?
If you want to compress it down, but I think it's a good presentation, and I think it does clarify the needs.
Okay. Okay, so this, we talked the last time about having a conversation about water, and this is a little kind of explanation of where we get our water from and how it works. As people may know or not know, the City of Homestead provides water to the residents of the city, and this is kind of a small discussion on water.
There's a lot more to water than all that blue stuff you can see on the globe. The water we can see on the surface of the earth is surface water. Surface water is every lake, pond, river, stream, and ocean on earth. But in the ground below your feet, there's even more water, groundwater. Groundwater is water that's crammed in the tiny gaps between rocks, soils, and sediments under the ground. A full body of groundwater is called an aquifer. There are huge aquifers all across America. When it rains, some water gets soaked up by plants. Some water runs off the soil and into streams, lakes, or even the ocean. Other water gets stuck in the surface and eventually evaporates back into the air. Meanwhile, some of the lucky water droplets can travel down through the surface deep underground until they reach the water table and become a part of an aquifer. Once water seeps down deep enough into the ground, it can stay there for a really long time. Some of the water stored in the deepest parts of aquifers has been there for thousands of years. Humans depend on groundwater, and there are thousands of wells all over the country that draw water out of aquifers. In many parts of the country, the water you get from the tap comes from the ground. However, we use most of our groundwater to help grow the food we eat. Farms can get lots of the water they need from rain, but rain isn't always enough. And in dry years, farmers depend even more on the water that's stored in the ground. In fact, American farms use about 53 billion gallons of groundwater every day. That's enough to fill over 1 million bathtubs or 80,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So, if we're using that much every day, can it run out? Well, yes and no. Remember, aquifers can be refilled by rainwater or surface water seeping in from rivers and streams. So there's usually more water on its way to replenish the aquifer. But if we use groundwater faster than the aquifers can refill, we could drain them dry. They probably wouldn't be empty forever, but it would take hundreds of years for the largest aquifers to get back to healthy levels.
So that's kind of the main point here, which is lots of water in the ground comes from the sky through the rain. The whole process replenishes itself. It's been raining a long time. We get a lot of rain in Florida. What has changed, and this has happened for a long, long time, but what has changed is from the 1800s on, population started to appear here in Florida. So have that same amount of water in the ground, but now in 1830 you had 35,000 people, and today in Florida you have 21 million. So that's a lot of people drawing water from the ground and from some of the other lakes and areas in Florida that have water. But the point that was made in the video is that we don't just use the water for drinking. We also, in Florida, we produce a lot of the food for the nation, and Florida is #1 in the production of grapefruit, snap beans, squash, sugar cane, oranges, etc. So all of those crops require an enormous amount of water. We have about 850,000 acres of farmland in Florida at 9,700 farms, and brings a tremendous amount of economic impact into the state, but it also requires an enormous amount of water. So population comes need for water, comes need for food, which requires water, and then of course, as you see up above, this has happened all over Florida, and that is you had nothing but land and vacant land, and now you have tall buildings with a lot of population, all of which are running their water and flushing their toilets, and all of that gets pulled out from the ground. And while all this is happening, you also have the issue of the threat of the salt water pushing its way into the aquifers, what they call saltwater intrusion. And so the more water you draw out, and also the conditions with the whole climate change issues that are rising, and also sea level rise, you have the threat of the salt water intruding into the fresh water, which is a major threat to any utilities that provide fresh water to its customers, because the plants that they use to process that fresh water, in most cases, cannot accommodate and filter out the seawater, which is a much more complex and expensive process requiring different types of processing plants. So because of this, the growth over time in Florida and all this demand for new water, because the rain, each year it's a little different, a little more, a little less, but it comes down, trickles into the ground, but now you have all these additional people. So Florida broke up this into 5 regions throughout the state. These are districts that actually control how much water can be, the whole management really of the water in the state, and how cities are able to draw water from the ground. And so this is just an example of here in Homestead, the aquifer that we use is the Biscayne aquifer, and we use this one because it's the closest to the ground. And you can see it's right at sea level, about 200 feet, and that is a good quality water. It's very little processing required as compared to some of the other aquifers in the state, including some of the other cities north of us that use the Floridan aquifer, which is more brackish and requires more processing, which is more expensive because it's much deeper in the ground. So all these aquifers that are there for people to use, well, they're using them, and they're using them at a rapid rate. And here in Homestead, see, in 1830, 1,700 people, we're now at 70,000 plus and growing, and with all the land that we still have, those numbers will rise. So as the water districts throughout the state were starting to see this development pattern all across the state, they started putting caps on cities on how much water could be drawn. Here in Homestead, the South Florida Water Management District is the one that controls how much water we can take out of the ground. They limit us, and basically the limit is through a consent decree, 10.55 million gallons per day. On average, Homestead uses 11.5 million gallons per day, and anything above and beyond the 10.55, we're required to purchase that water from Miami-Dade County. And Miami-Dade County, they have been increasing their cost to us over the years, and our rates haven't gone up. So we'll get to that. There was an ordinance that was passed in 2002, which basically said each year the city will come back to the elected body, mayor and council, and ask for cost of living increases to manage the utility. And the idea was small increases over time, because obviously when you're running a company, costs, and in this case a utility is a company that produces a product. This is actually something you come each year and you just do small increases. And that was the concept when this ordinance was adopted way back in 2002. But then something changed drastically, which was the Great Recession. And at that time, the strategy was implemented, which was basically in the time of a crisis, the last thing anybody needs is to be charged more for anything. And so 10 years went by without an increase in the water rates, and that was for a good reason, which we'll get to. But the ordinance says raise water and sewer rates every year, but they haven't been raised for 10 years. So, because I know people say, oh, I'm starting to hear George is asking for an increase, right? Okay, well, here's the question. It's a very high-level, complicated question. Over the past 10 years, have prices gone up? So this is the high-low game, and I'm going to go through and see to that question. Is the price of ground beef higher or lower today than it was in 2008? The answer is higher, 38% higher. Price of milk. I'll ask Mr. Powell over there. Mr. Powell, milk, what do you think? It's higher. It's higher. Milk went up. Milk went up 35%. Margarine, that went up higher, 20%. Lettuce, although don't eat, can we eat romaine lettuce now? I think it's going to go up, trust me, 26%. Price of bread, higher or lower? Higher, 131% for bread. Sugar, the answer is higher, 19%. Peach, Mr. Cordino, what do you think? Higher? Higher, how much? 37%. Peaches. Cut down on the peaches. Cascade, 34%. Higher. Frozen corn, 29%. There's so many different products we looked at, and we can go through. I could spend 4 hours here going through every product in the supermarket. But for the most part, the point is the same, which is over a period of 10 years, most every product that you can think of, most every service you can think of, prices have gone up. And they've gone up, in many cases, high. And so the point I'm trying to make here is water is a product too. And so for anybody who thinks, geez, well, we shouldn't have a rate increase, well, in 10 years, everything else has gone up. Why would water stay the same indefinitely? So we have not had an increase in 10 years. And while rates have gone up, Miami-Dade County has increased our costs by 57%. The water that we purchase from them, it costs us 57% more than it did 10 years ago. And also the additional sewage that we divert to the county, that cost has increased by 64%. And just ordinary increases in staffing costs over that 10-year period have gone up by 40%. Small raises. And you can see here in this chart, this is Miami-Dade County, and so you figure back in 2008, we were paying them $1.6 million for the charges, and today we pay $4.6 million. So that's where the real money is there to Miami-Dade County. And for those who said, well, why don't you just cut staff? Well, we haven't increased staff. In fact, staff went from 29 employees in 2008 to 2018, there's 27 employees. So they're running very lean with their operation. But if you have to buy water and sewage treatment from the county and it's costing you almost $3.5 million more than it was 10 years ago, that money has to come from somewhere. And in the original ordinance, it was anticipated that those small increases would be absorbed each year to cover those additional costs. Operations and maintenance, 2008, talking about $5 million in 2008, and now it's $9.5 million. Now, I have heard this comment once in a while. We think it's because some of our billing, everything is kind of lumped into one bill, but some people have said that water in Homestead is much higher than in other cities. So, I'll ask somebody here who might want to All right, we'll ask Mr. Powell. How, okay, what we did was we took every single city in Miami-Dade County and Broward County, added up every single one. We have a list here, and this list is extensive, and you're going to see it all. So the big question is, does Homestead have the highest water and sewer rates in Miami-Dade and Broward County? Yes. The answer, Mr. Powell says yes. The answer is a huge no. The huge no. In fact, well, if we're not number one, who is number one? It is the town of Davie. And this is, on average, 6,750 gallons of water a month. You would pay in Davie $136.41. So that is the highest of those two counties on the list, $136.41. Okay, cents. So if we're not number one, is Homestead number two? Mr. Powell says no, and Mr. Powell would be right. Who is number two? City of Sunrise in the Southwest Plant area. They pay $135. Third highest? Miami. Well, it's certainly not Homestead. It's Weston at $128.58. Fourth, Southwest Ranches. So, in the top four of Miami-Dade and Broward County, we're not in the top four. We're not actually even in the top 10. Southwest Ranches, Wilton Manors, Oakland Park, Sunrise, Park City, Hillsborough, and Pembroke Pines. And I know what people are thinking now is, well, those are all Broward County cities. That would be true. And now we'll go to the top 20 list. Right there, number 11, and this is a Miami-Dade County city, Bay Harbor Islands, is $95.59. We're not number 12. We're not 13, we're not 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20. So that would mean that of all those cities in Miami-Dade and Broward County, we're not in the top 20 most expensive cities. But are we on the top 30 list? Anybody want to say top 30? We're in the top 30? Well, here we go. Golden Beach, Biscayne Park, Bal Harbor, Plantation, Cooper City, Coral Springs, Broward County, Tamarack, Hallandale Beach, and Coral Gables. Number 30 on the list, $72.95. So Homestead is not in the top 30 on this list. But are we in the top 40? Well, Margate, 31. Hialeah, 32. North Miami, Virginia Gardens, Lauderhill, Opelika, Lauderdale by the Sea, Sweetwater, Surfside. Here goes number 40, not Homestead, South Miami. Then, well, there's 55 cities on the list. So, now we get to the top 50. Is Homestead on the top 50 of the most expensive waters in these two counties? Pinecrest, Mr. Cordino, there you are, number 41, which is not bad, actually. 41, not bad. $65.15. Palmetto Bay, Miami Springs, Miami Shores, Miami Lakes, Miami-Dade County, Miami, El Portal, Doral. Number 50, not Homestead. Cutler Bay, right there in Joe's neck of the woods. Number 50. So that leaves us with only 5 cities left. Aventura, Key Biscayne, Hialeah, Pompano Beach, which leaves us there, Homestead, right down at the bottom of the list. 55 out of 55, $48.10. The cheapest water anywhere in 2 counties. And I didn't even go up northward or southward for that matter, because it's at some point it just makes your point. Our rate is substantially cheaper than anyone else. And the list, there's so many cities on the list, I barely could fit it on the screen, but you could see all those cities up there, and there we are down there at the bottom. And most significantly, not only are we the lowest, but when you compare us to the second lowest, we are 29% lower than the second lowest of all those on the list. So substantially cheaper and the lowest. And if you compare us to the most expensive, the most expensive is 184% higher than Homestead. So in Davie, you would pay $136.41, and in a Homestead, $48.10. So that's the first thing, is everybody hopefully can spread the word. Our water is the cheapest anywhere in 2 counties by 29%, at second lowest. That's how low it is. But more importantly, when you have that kind of a low price for a product and you don't charge any more over 10 years and your costs go up every year, like every other product, your revenues at some point don't cover your expenses. The rates become artificially low, and that's a real problem, because if the water is too cheap, what ends up happening is people start using more of it. They're less likely to conserve, customers are. And less conservation increases our need to buy more water from the county. If you'll remember, we're capped at 10.55. So the more we use, the more we have to buy from the county, and they have increased their costs over the years. And then also on the environmental side, the less we conserve, the more strain we put on the environment. Now, this is language from the South Florida Water Management District, and what they have done is try to encourage cities to create a rate structure that is conservation-based. And by that, they say all public water supply utilities must develop and submit a water conservation rate structure to the South Florida Water Management District before they can be issued a water use permit. The utility must explain how the proposed plan and rate structure will effectively promote water conservation. Conservation rate structures keep costs low for the average volume of water required for basic household needs, while charging substantially more for discretionary or excessive use. So that's basically the idea here, is create a structure so that at some point, if you start using more, it starts going up more, and that hopefully will encourage conservation. We have this consent decree that limits us to 10.55, and so basically what we're recommending is to adjust the rate structure so that we continue encouraging conservation, and that we have the tiers where if you're in a tier from 0 to 3,000 gallons, your rate, you'll be increased by 10%, 3,000 to 9,000, that'll be a 10% increase. And by the way, that's a 10% increase after 10 years with no increase. And then the heavy users of water, 9,000 to 14,000 gallons, and then 14,000 up, they would have a 30% increase. And then on the sewer charges, that would be across the board, 30%. And that then is the structure that we're proposing to the mayor and council. And if the council adopts this ordinance change and this adjustment to the rates, you'll see Homestead still, that red line with all those cities, would still be the cheapest at $61.18. And the difference between that and Davie would pay $136.41. So it is a huge, huge difference still between the cost of our water and everybody else. And so that's what we're recommending. We'll still be the cheapest. Customers who have concerns about how this might increase their bill, we recommend that if they start conserving a little bit, they can offset some of those increases with the conservation. And if anybody has any questions about ways to conserve, we're going to be doing a campaign to, at the council's request, to get the word out on how to conserve some water. And that's something, the conservation is an important thing for the South Florida Water Management District, because they restrict not only Homestead, but they restrict the cities within their jurisdiction. And most cities in Florida are subject to some sort of restrictions, so that ultimately the concern is to not be able to put the state in a position so that they don't run out of water and or don't create all kinds of environmental damage. So there was a lot of discussion this summer about red tide and sea level rise and global warming, and all these are interrelated. And so the staff's recommendation is approve the new water and sewer rate schedule, enforce the ordinance that we have so that we make the rate adjustment this year, but each year we'll come back now that the economy is improved, because everybody understood, everything, I think everybody was in agreement at the time that this strategy was implemented, which was in the height of a great recession where we have people losing their jobs and the highest foreclosure rate in the country, and we have people losing their health insurance. It wasn't the time to be increasing anything, whether it was property taxes or rate increases. So we got through the economy and weathered the storm, but now as things have picked up a little bit, when our costs go up, if the county charges us more for the cost of processing water or sewage, that really needs to be passed on to the customer. And so we'd come back to each year with an adjustment, small increases over time, based on actual costs of what we're charged from the utility for these charges. Now, I mentioned before that drinking water is a product, but one other thing I wanted to mention, which I mentioned last hearing, is that water is also a blessing. And it's a blessing because when you really look at the rest of the world and how many people don't even have running water, I saw this little video I wanted to end with, which is about a little village in Africa where they just opened up a well there for drinking water. And I know one of our assistant city managers, Kate, she was in Malawi, and you saw people walking down the street, literally walking down the street with cans on their heads, carrying water miles away just to get drinking. And they mentioned to you there that how much does it cost to do a well? It costs $7,500 to just build a well, and they don't have waters and they don't have wells, so they're walking from place to place. So this is a service that we provide every day, and we all take it for granted. We turn that water on and it comes out every single time. It's not like the cell phone where sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Every time you turn that water on, it comes on, it's clean, and it's fresh, and it's something that we have every day, and it's a blessing. So I wanted to play this little poem from some African school children about this well and water. And I would like to thank the staff that provides this service every day, many people that work here in the city, Julio and all of your staff that make it possible. Dennis and all his people make it possible for that water to flow every day and for it to be clean and disease-free, and it does so much for us. And so thank you to the staff, and thank you, Mayor and Council. And I think the strategy worked. We got through the recession pretty well, and now it's time to catch up a little bit. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you, George. Always inspirational, educational, and informative on your presentations. And I did say, I think this in the last meeting, it's tough for us not to be in first place in something. I'll take last place in this one. Thank you, George. Thank you to the staff, too, for all they do. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to speak from the public, you're welcome to come forward and just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Snow. Address is 556 Southeast 37th Place, Homestead, Florida, 33033. I'm sorry. So I came to this meeting because I did get notification of the increase. I did review the numbers and see how it would personally impact my home. I spoke with my peers to see if I was in or out of the norm of what they spend, and to find that I was in the norm of what they spend. encourage my peers to come as well, because when I run the numbers, this becomes a $6.44 per 1,000-gallon increase for us. Wow, the presentation was very beautiful, and it states that it is a 10% increase. That is actually a 23% increase for what we spend today on water and sewer for just the water portion. $6.44 at the average that you stated, 6,750 gallons, is actually a $45 a month increase for every household that you have here in Homestead. That is a significant amount of money for us homeowners who are just trying to pay the bills every month. And while I do work in business, I understand the increases. I understand that there hasn't been an increase in 10 years and that an increase must be done. I think that doing a single substantial increase at one time is too detrimental to the community. I know I myself, this will put me in a place where it is very difficult to pay my bill now, because now my bill is going up $45. So now my $450 bill just became a $500 bill, becoming the second largest bill that I pay every single month, second only to my mortgage. I hope that that puts it into perspective for you guys. And also, I wanted my peers to come. And my peers said to me that they would not come because they felt that the decision was already made. I felt that we could make a difference, and so I came. And after sitting here and listening to the community, to you guys, the council, and listening to that presentation, I see that your decision is already made. So while I appreciate the 3 minutes that you gave me, I'll give you back approximately 45 seconds, since I know your decision's already made and that you don't care about us. Thank you.
I think we have some good news here, though, because we can help this resident, and if we can analyze her bill, because I doubt very much, unless she's using 14,000 gallons a day. Look, how many people in your family? 4 people. There's no way she's using 14,000 gallons of water. So it's likely she's an average water user, and there's no way her bill is going up. She may have looked at all of her charges, her sanitation, electric. I don't know what bill she said is $400, but whatever bill that is, that wouldn't be water and sewer, doubtfully. So what we can do to help is if you give us your address, if you like, and or help look at your bill, these increases won't impact you by $45. What 3 categories? Yeah. Yeah. Julio, do you want to speak to that? Because those figures, I think there's a little error in your math. So.
Correct. And if you want, again, we can go over your bill personally. You know, I can go over it with you. But the average increase per home for a home probably like yours with 4 people living in it should be no more total $9 to $10 a month total, including all the categories combined. That's the fees plus the per gallon is used. Remember, the fees are not per gallon, they're per 1,000 gallons. So when you see an increase of 10%, it's per 1,000 gallons. If you're using about 5,000 to 6,000 gallons a month, that increase of basically it's cents that we're increasing, that 1,000-gallon fee will not add up to what you're saying. I can guarantee you that that at a worst-case scenario, it will be $12.
So Julio, I think what we can do is more than happy to contact you if you'd like. We can give you the analysis, but rest assured, you're coming out of the meeting tonight with less than you thought. And then also, if it ends up being $10, $12 for you, we're pretty sure if you adopt some conservation measures, that'll shrink even further.
Now, you have her address and on all that, right?
Jerry's got it. Jerry's given them his business card. We're more than happy. If they want to give us the address now, we can look it up.
It's on the record now, so she gave it when she.
Okay, so Julio, we'll look it up and be happy to contact them.
Okay.
Here's my real tax bill for you to look at.
Nice. Yeah, last time you were here, you made out like a bandit, right? Yeah.
Well, we dodged the bullet with the double exemption, so you've
there
got
you
another $500,000 you can spend. Isn't that
there you
good?
go. Perfect.
So we can raise the water rate. Now, maybe we can work together. Water. We stood up here, what, 2 or 3 years ago and had the same conversation. Mr. Brea and I got together and we were going to have a water conservation awareness. We were going to put flyers in the bills. We were going to make water a priority. What happened? Never happened. Suddenly that priority just melted somewhere, okay? I was in the water business. When you pull water out of the ground, it's 1x of cost. To put it back in the ground is 3 times. Is that still the same ratio?
Julio, let him get through his.
Okay, all right. Let's work together. When do people, when they go to take a shower, think I should hurry up, wash myself, and shut the water off while I shampoo and while I condition? Who thinks of that? Nobody thinks of that. You're not going to solve the problem by taxing it, by charging them more. It is a precious commodity. In my energy business, there was a saying that says, we believe in the unlimited use of a limited commodity. Water is a limited commodity. Like you said, Mr. Gretzich, you turn on the faucet, there it is. Well, how do you get there? And how do we take care of the problem? The problem is we should teach conservation to keep the cost down rather than raise the billing. They don't care. They're going to continue to turn the faucets on. They're going to continue to wash the clothes, and they're going to continue to spend. Look at the gallon usage. 100 gallons per person a day. Now, do you use 100 gallons of water a day? I don't. What for? I don't. You know, you stand in the shower, you use 100 gallons of water to shower. It's unfathomable to me why 60,000 people use 10 million gallons of water a day. Conservation. It's coming, folks. They've cut off irrigation. It's coming, and you, by taxing it, isn't going to fix the problem. Thanks a lot.
11% of my tax bill. I don't know about yours.
You save?
I went up 11% of my taxes. 11%, guys.
Mr. McDuffie, go ahead.
Hi, guys. Stephen McDuffie, 139 Southeast 36th Avenue, Homestead, Florida, 33033. I partially echo the concerns of one of my neighbors, Jackie Snow, and had multiple conversations with folks around the vineyards and stuff like that. Folks that are living more paycheck to paycheck versus some others that are more well off. I've seen the conversations on Nextdoor and others like that. And I have to say that a 10% increase is pretty steep. I'd like to see some more numbers if I can walk out of here. So if I can meet with your public works guys and see how would that affect my household? Because I can already tell you my wife would be like, no, come up here and speak against it. So for the most part, I'd say please do a smaller increase. And I ask council to look and see, instead of doing a 10% increase, to maybe a 3 to 5% increase, because costs do go up over time. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kenny Sanat, 1140 Independence Trail, Unit A, Homestead, Florida, 33034. First and foremost, I didn't really see the purpose of comparing a third world country with the plight of Homestead, Florida. I didn't see the purpose of that. And second of all, a lot of time was spent on explaining why you guys are increasing the bill instead of how was the rate increase determined. And I agree with you. I think 10% is relatively high. Again, no one explained how the rate increase is being determined. Why 10%? Could it be anything smaller than that? Or does it have to be at 10%? And also, why 30% for the sewer? I think I speak for all the residents of Homestead. That's too high for us, definitely.
Any other comments? Mr. Manager?
Yeah, a couple of points just to address all the comments combined is you can't go 10 years and not have an increase in a product and expect a company to survive. So the company's costs go up each year. The county charges us $3.5 million more in costs than they did 10 years ago. that money has to come from someplace. So the idea is, well, forget about the fact that rates haven't gone up in 10 years. Let's forget about that. Forget about the fact that there were number 55 out of 55 cities in Broward and Miami. Forget about that. Forget about the idea that we're capped by the state on how much water we can draw out, and if we don't start conserving, we're going to have real issues. Forget about all that. Forget about the fact that the second lowest is 29% higher than ours. Forget about the fact that our costs have gone up. Forget about the facts that other products have gone up significantly, double digits over the last 10 years. Forget about all that. I just don't want to pay more. And I would just say that is not a sustainable strategy. And so that really is the point here, is the reason why people haven't paid anything more in 10 years is because this body decided, in a bad economy, in a great recession where people are struggling, let's hold off as long as we can. And that's what we've done. And that really is where we're at today. And these rates are designed to get us to a place where the utility is sustainable, that we can legitimately say to the state, we actually have a conservation ordinance that encourages conservation, because when you sell water at such a discounted rate, you're actually discouraging conservation, which it conflicts with what they've told us that they want us to do. So I feel for anybody that says they don't want to pay anything more for anything, trust me, when my cable bill came in and they charged me more each year, and I look at my cable bill today from 10 years ago, I don't want to pay more. My cell phone bill, I don't want to pay more. I go to the supermarket, I don't want to pay more. But inflation goes up and costs go up, and at some point, water isn't free. Somebody has to pay for it, and this is what we try to do, is to encourage conservation, but also to minimize the stress on the lower water users. A 10% increase over 10 years, what is that? It's less than 1%. So I would say, what is the math works out less than 1% when you cover, yeah. So all I would just say is, at some point, you have to charge what the product is worth. If you produce a product and you sell it at less than what it costs, you don't have much of a company at some point.
Any questions from council? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, no, I think to address some of this, because I know I struggled with this decision, meeting with staff, and I think ultimately staff would tell you that they would prefer a higher rate increase than probably what we're awarding. They've asked for a higher rate increase, and I think that this body has likely pushed back. I know I pushed back, and I think others have pushed back up here, saying that, not to raise it any more than we absolutely need to or have to. And I think part of it is, the strategy or the decisions made by councils in the past not to raise rates, not to keep up with inflation, not to keep up with the cost of living. That factored into this bigger jump now at the end. Should we have raised it continuously? We probably should have, and I think we've corrected that going forward so that we hopefully won't be in this position again. And so I think that plays into where we are all sitting at this particular moment in time. And I don't know if any of us are happy with this particular decision that we're having to make, but I think it's also a reality. And I think the other thing too is that, this isn't a case where the city can choose or not to choose to reimburse itself for the expenses, so to speak, because it's just making money off of what it makes. I mean, there are hard dollars that we're paying out of our city coffers to Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County is controlling those purse strings. They have raised their rates on us for both water and for sewer. And so we have to actually pay them in real dollars. We can't just decide not to receive those dollars for my residents. We have to find a way to pay that off. So it's either raise the fees or find another mechanism within the taxing authority that we have available to us to make up that difference, correct?
Yeah, I think that's another good point, which is, if you're a heavy water user and you don't like the fact that your bill is going up because you're using all this water, that the city has basically been subsidizing all the increased costs over the last 10 years, another way to do it is to spread all of your excess use to all the property taxpayers so they can pay for your excess use of water. So somebody that is conservative in their use of water, maybe be a family of 3 or 4 using 6,000 gallons, 5,000 gallons a month, why should they end up paying through their property taxes for somebody else that uses a lot more water and is going way above what the expectation is for the water management district? And the other issue becomes is your utility a user-based utility, which the concept of a utility is you produce a product. Whatever that cost is what you pass on, and to the user, they pay for what it costs. And in this case, they're buying a product for less than what it costs to produce the product. No company can exist. It's just common sense. No company can exist. So if somebody says, well, then the taxpayers should subsidize the utility, what they're subsidizing then is people who are excessive water users. And also, if you think that that's not fair, you think it's fair that we're 29% lower than the second lowest in the entire county? I mean, how is that fair?
Right. Well, and so my point being that either you raise the fees or you raise the taxes or you raise something else, because at the end of the day, we actually have to pay these dollars to a third party. This isn't
Right,
like
and you pay for what you use, as opposed to if you pass it on to the taxpayer, other people will be paying for what you use.
No, correct. Understood. So you're if you conserve, you pay less, versus saying your neighbor doesn't conserve, but because the fees weren't raised, you still pay more because you're paying for their bad habits of watering their lawn or irrigation or whatever the heck they might be doing that's causing the drain on the system. But then the last thing I'll say, so I guess my big point there is that I think this was a struggle for a decision. I don't think this is something that we wanted to have to do, but I think that given the facts and the circumstances, there's not much other option. And I think that we've tried to mitigate the cost to the residents as best we can by limiting that raise, or that increase to the lowest amount that we could, and still be able to survive and still be able to make ends meet. But I think also the key is, one of the things that I did ask the question about was what was the effect, or what would be the effect on your average household. I had you guys run some numbers, and what I was told is that, for the most part, the maximum cost should be around $12 increase for those that are using the average or above average, where those who are using less or can conserve will do more, or do be less than that. So I just, again, want to reiterate that on the record, that is in fact the case, that you guys are standing by your numbers, and that, again, we've done the best we can to balance all the facts and figures here.
And the proof will be when the water bills start coming in.
Correct.
And also, if anybody, even before the bill comes in, if somebody wants to call us and talk to us, we'll do the calculation for them so that they can understand what to expect. But it shouldn't be much, and also with some conservation measures, they'll be able to reduce that sum.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Any other questions? Ms. Fairclough?
Yes, just a comment. I think Councilman Shelley kind of articulated that very well. City Manager, you probably can attest to the fact that all of us struggled with that when we met with staff to discuss the water rates, because it's not something that we wanted to do. And I'm very sensitive to the needs of the speakers because they live and reside in my district. But it's just not sustainable not to do anything. And it was very hard for us to come to this decision to support it, but we knew it was a necessary evil. And at the end of the day, we have to absorb these costs also. It's not like we're inflicting this on the residents. We have to pay for this also. When we looked at the numbers on how much this would impact the families, wouldn't impact it as much. And I am happy that you extended the invitation for staff to meet with the residents so that she can go over it to get a clear understanding of how this would impact her family. So this is very difficult. We understand that, but it was something that we had to do for stability purposes and to make sure that we are not digging a further hole for our city. So I apologize if this is adversely impacting you to the extent with which you articulated, but I'm hopeful that after meeting with staff that those numbers would be reduced. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Roth?
Yeah, just to reiterate, we all up here use Homestead water, and we're at a disadvantage sometimes in billing because you receive a bill that covers all the utilities if you have Homestead Electric as well. And, in real estate, oftentimes people say, no, I can't live in Homestead because I hear the power bill's too high or the water bill's too high. And I explain to them, the breakdown of our bill is a lot different than if you live in the county. The county bills water every 90 days. You may end up with FP&L. Your garbage is paid for in your property taxes if you're in the county, where your garbage is paid for on your city bill in the city. So there's a whole array of different things to look at. I was quite surprised to hear that a utility bill for 4 people living in the city of Homestead is $440 a month as well. There's something wrong with that, and again, as Councilwoman Fairclough mentioned, it's important to at least look at their bill and see what's going on with
Maybe
it.
she has a leak too. We could look to see if she's got some problem with leakage.
Possibility. You know,
Okay,
well,
ma'am, hold on.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, at 6,750 gallons, she wouldn't be paying $400 in a bill, and we can prove that. So there's no sense really debating it. We could sit
Right.
down,
No,
we
no,
can
I
prove
get
it.
that part. I get that part, and we look into it. And thank you for those who came out tonight to talk to us about this issue. I'm going to be looking at my water bill a lot closer next time around. I know what my average water bill is, and if it's gone up more than what we've been somewhat promised here tonight, there may be a topic coming back before to figure out what happened and why there was a miscalculation on the utility bill. And I trust the staff has done an incredible amount of work. We haven't just been talking about this last month and this month. This has been going back 6 or 8 months that we've started to talk about. Even maybe last year we started talking about this and we all cringed. Oh, no, we can't do that. We don't want to do that. But the facts are the facts. If we're being charged more than what we're collecting, eventually we will be out of business. And we don't want to bankrupt the city over a usage situation like that. And I think it's prudent that we have to make these types of decisions that are hard, that affect all of us, or we have to look for other sources of revenue to cover these expenses. And it's not fair to do that. You pay for what you use. We shouldn't have to subsidize if that's the case that we're doing now. And this is not an easy decision, but I think it's a fair decision. No increases over 10 years. I wasn't here back then. There was a recession. There were problems. They were trying to help. I get it. They helped for the time being. And now it's time that we have to help our city. And if you take it over the 10 years, it's 1% a year. It may be a little drastic today, but stay in touch with us. You that came out tonight that are concerned, stay in touch with us. Watch those bills. If they were exaggerated, if they go up for some reason beyond what you were told here tonight, it's on public record, it's being recorded. Please come back and tell us. We'll be happy to look at those bills. Anybody on our staff would be happy to look at those and figure out what happened with the numbers. We're not here to try to scam anybody out of anything. We just need to collect what's fair to the city. We're paying out more than what we're collecting, and I think that's fair. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, two thoughts. Questions from the public. Who do they call? Who's the contact point that's going to answer the phone, that's going to help people walk through these questions? If you got 3-4 residents here tonight.
Well, you want to, Julio, okay. We'll give you the person that runs the water utility, Julio Brea, our city engineer. You want to give a number?
Well, and the thing is, Julio, I mean, give somebody, if you're going to give somebody a number, somebody in your office needs to be able to field
Correct.
that call.
Sure.
And help them understand,
Absolutely.
Because, that's the issue is, we wanted to tell people publicly this process. That's why I asked you, Mr. Manager, to go through the process so we could explain it. But we need to have someone that can answer the phone when they call.
Absolutely.
So
the number would be area code 305-224-4777.
Okay.
And they can ask for me, and if I'm not there, they can take the information.
His name is Julio Brea. He's the Director of Public Works, and he's in charge of the water utility, as well as other things in the city. And I think also anybody that's watching that may be confused right now, if you have a family of 4, right now you could just look at your water bill. I doubt very much you're paying $400 some odd for water. So I think there's a mistake here someplace, and we'll figure out what the mistake is because, something doesn't make sense with her bill.
And the other point is, obviously, when we talked about this in the committee structure, that no good deed goes unpunished, saying is we need to adhere to the ordinance and on a consistent basis, deal with the cost of living increase, because otherwise, we'll be back at the same place again. And we've done it in the past. It's deja vu. It's kind of like a broken record.
The other thing is, there's a simple solution here, which is run the utility into the ground until it's bankrupt, and then shut it down, and then the county will provide your water. Everybody will get their water from the county, which will be more expensive because they provide, a lot of these cities that you see, they provide the water to them. Florida City is a good example of a city that's not on the list that the county provides the water to. It's more money.
Well, one thing that's failed to be mentioned in this whole conversation is the fact that our utility replenishes the aquifer at about 4.5 million gallons per day, right?
Exactly, 4.5
million.
yes.
So we're giving back. Okay, we're taking out, but we're one of the few cities or few government entities that don't deep water inject it just down into the below the aquifer, and it just goes away.
Correct.
So yes, we're pulling out, but we are giving back 4.5 million. I was astounded with that number. So that's a little good news in the fact of what the city's doing. But I do think that a point of contact, someone that can answer the phone, someone can walk people through the clarity of the bills, and let's adhere to the ordinance. And if it's a cost of living increase, let's do it on a more frequent basis so that there isn't the sticker shock that some people think they're going to see or reality they will see.
You know, hopefully when their bills come in, there won't be there's 4 people spoke tonight. You have 70,000 plus city people in the city, and we certainly are not naive enough to think that people would come up and say, oh, thank you for having the lowest water in 2 counties. We understood there would be some concerns. That's why we wanted to have this presentation, and we certainly think that when the facts come out, people will see them for what they are. And I don't think anybody in the city that's got 4 members of their family in the household are going to be paying $400 for water.
Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. And you know, it's funny, Mr. Manager. The first thing I thought was one of the last things you mentioned is like, you know, you'd be surprised if it was a county-ran, you know, utilities or another third party running the utilities. I think that, you know, at least we've been able to control it and if it's in someone else's hands, we have no control of saying whatsoever. So the fact that we have the ability to oversee this is an advantage for the city of Homestead and why I've always decided to live here. You know, I make this decision, clearly it's going to impact myself. I mean, I'm a 7 household, you know, family, and you know, four bathrooms, and you know, a kid that will get lost for you know a couple of hours and flown in the, you know, playing in the tub, and so you know, obviously this affects us as well. I mean, I hope that anyone watching this or in the audience today doesn't think that this does not affect us as well. You know, we will be bearing these costs as well, and so. You know, yes, you know, if our minds are made up, and yes, mine was made up, but it's because we've been working on this for quite some time. This wasn't something that was easy. You know, the minute the discussion came up, it hit us all in the gut. No one up here wants to raise anyone. No one with a common sense would want to do it, but, you know, we need to do the responsible thing. And so, you know, my mind was made up after speaking to staff and the length of time. I thank you guys for always going the extra mile, way ahead of time, to make sure that, you know, we have plenty of, this was not rushed. We had plenty of time to discuss this, to go over it, to beat it, and to make sure that we're doing what's going to be the best for this city, what we think is going to be best. And it's a necessity that we need to do. You know, and the last thing I'll say is the water district managers will fine us. They will impose on us these mandatory, you know, decisions that we need to start being conservative. I mean, just the state of Florida as a whole, the resource we have is very precious. I mean, this is something that's been in the works for many years and will continue to be in works for many years, because the importance of Florida and its aquifer, it's everything. Our economy through agriculture is based off of, you know, water, and so it's very important. So I know that, again, well, I don't want to beat this up, but yes, my mind's made up, but it's something that needs to be done. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I think the important thing, one thing that's being overlooked is, and you brought it up several times, Mr. Manager, is that we're still the cheapest with communities. One question that I would like to put out there, maybe you had the answer or not, I can't remember if I asked her in our meeting. If we had done the rate increases as the ordinance stated, what would that have taken us to at a level? Do you remember?
I don't remember offhand,
But it would be quite a bit more.
Oh, I mean,
than
they'd
where
be paying.
we're going to end up tomorrow.
I'm not sure about more because the ordinance didn't. It was only for 2%, and the county increased you more than that.
Correct.
So
But
you
I'm saying that 2% over 10 years.
Yeah.
We'd be 20%, twice as high as we're going to today, is where your water bill would be stabilized at.
I mean, the other point is if I walked into the supermarket and they asked me, George, is it okay to pay more for bread? I would say no. I mean, it's a natural reaction, and I get it. And the thing is, if everybody said no and everybody could vote on that and bread never went up for 10 years, at some point there wouldn't be bread on the shelf because the company that produces the bread couldn't survive anymore and they would shut the company down.
My point is that no matter where we go to today, the bills are going to be cheaper than they would be if we had followed the ordinance for the last 10 years. And because we're only going to 10% where we would have been at least at 20% depending on where we went. So, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments? Is there a motion on tab 17? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilwoman Faircloth? Yes. Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 18.
Mr. Mayor, tab 18 is an ordinance for second reading. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budget for the city's general fund for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30th, 2018 by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $12,829,100 related to new market tax credit transactions for Homestead Station, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, this is the second reading. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve and amend the fiscal year 2018 budget to the general fund for $12,829,100, reflecting the appropriation of funds, revenues, and expenditures for the Homestead Station new market tax credits transactions approved by the Council at the June 20th, 2018 Council meeting. It's a housekeeping item, and as such, the amendment is not an obligation of funds.
Any comments from council? Any comments from the public? Open the public hearing at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Any final comments? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faircloth? Councilman Maldonado? Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 19.
Mr. Mayor, tab 19 is also an ordinance for second reading. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budgets for each of the several funds and departments of the city for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30th, 2018 by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $10,800,000, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Mayor, this is also second reading. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve and amend the fiscal year 2018 budget for the transfer from General Fund and Solid Waste Fund into Disaster Relief Fund as per the attached schedule. And we're anticipating these funds will be reimbursed by FEMA, but this is budget amendment is required in order to do that.
Questions from council? Comments from the public? Open the public hearing at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Any final comments? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Councilman Maldonado? Councilwoman Faircloth? Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 20.
Tab 20 is an ordinance for first reading. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budget for the general fund of the city for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019 by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $594,800, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, staff recommends Mayor and Council approve and amend the fiscal year 2019 budget to general fund for the demolition of the sports complex. The November 13th, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting, Council approved the award of a contract for the demolition of the sports contract. The cost of the demolition is $594,800. During the 2019 budget process, since a final decision had not been made with respect to the sports complex, no funds were appropriated for this project. This amendment will appropriate the funds from reserves to fund this one-time capital project.
Questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Any comments from the public?
Just curious, Mr. Getzis, that $594,000, that's for the demolition of the stadium? Is that
Yes.
why the increase is?
Yes.
Okay, and thanks, because you wouldn't answer that when I emailed you, so at least we now know that. I asked you about the roof on the police station and also what the status was of the demolition. You wouldn't answer either one, so thank you for that being published. Where does that come, that $500,000, does that come out of a slush fund? Is that somewhere out in the ether and suddenly we put it into the budget? Or we got a magic, where does that $500,000 get added in? Where does that come from? We don't tax anymore. Where does that come from? I'm confused. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, right there on the sheet, it's from general fund balance. It's basically reserves that the city has on hand for unanticipated expenses.
Okay. Close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Is there a motion? It's moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Ross? Yes. Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
I need a motion to extend the meeting for 15 minutes. Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor? Tab 21.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 21 is an ordinance for first reading. It's an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budgets for each of the several funds and departments of the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019 by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $39,859,252, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, staff recommends Mayor and Council approve and amend the fiscal year 2019 budget for various funds as per the attached schedule. The purpose of this amendment is to roll the amounts encumbered primarily for ongoing capital projects at fiscal year end 2018 into the current fiscal year's budget. This is normally done at the end of the year, November typically, and basically all the projects we do, capital projects, they start in different phases. So if you're not finished with one by the end of the fiscal year, that money rolls over. So it's not new money, it just rolls over so that the money that was appropriated for the specific project can be used in the next fiscal year to finish up the project.
We do this every year.
Every year.
Every year. Any questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Any final comments? Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilwoman Fairclough? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Councilman Ross?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 22.
Tab 22 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of sports cluster lighting system for the parking lot area of the City of Homestead Harrisfield Park from Musco Sports Lighting, LLC, recognizing applicable exemption from engaging competitive bidding pursuant to City Code Section 2-411.185, exemptions from competitive bidding, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter an agreement with Musco Sports Lighting LLC for the upgrade of lighting at the Harrisfield Park parking lots for $90,000. This was in the city's CIP number 916, and this is a safety issue, Pedro.
basically the lighting is not sufficient for the safety of the people that are utilizing it at this time.
Questions from council? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, does this include the YMCA area as well, that big, large area? Yeah, okay, so it's not just the parking immediately around the fields, but it's the
That's
whole
the main,
area.
The
Okay.
main one is those.
Yeah, there's been a big issue there for a long time where that's just been very dark area, not very much lighting there at all. So I'll be glad to see that lit up properly. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
All right, sir. Any other questions from council? Any comments from the public? You're welcome to come forward.
Don't look at it. Don't look at it.
Seeing none, close the public portion. Is there a motion? Moved. Is there a second? Moved and second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough? Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Councilman Burgess? Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 23.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 23 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of sports cluster green lighting system for the City of Homestead J.D. Red Park baseball fields from Musco Sports Lighting LLC, recognizing applicable exemption from engaging in competitive bidding pursuant to City Code Section 2-411.1A5, exemptions from competitive bidding, providing for an effective date.
Any questions from, Mr. Manager?
Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Musco Sporting Lights LLC for the upgrade of lighting at the J.D. Red Park baseball fields for $320,000. This was in CIP Capital Improvement Project number 917, also a safety issue to ensure that the fields are lit sufficient for the safety of the players.
Questions from council? We'll open up the public comment section. Any questions from the public? Comments from the public? Seeing none, close the public comment. Is there a motion? Is there a second? I'm sorry. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado? Councilman Roth? Councilman Burgess? Councilwoman Fairclough? Vice Mayor Shelley? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
We're through with all of the line items, tabs. So now the next item on the agenda is public comments. I have two cards. Omar Figueroa? Mr. Powell?
I've got 3 minutes. Too bad the rest of you don't get 3 minutes. But I guess we get 3 minutes, so you can start the clock. I asked last council meeting who authorized the city to hire our attorneys to represent Mr. Magudo in a non-city lawsuit. Nobody answered it. I emailed you all. I got one response from one of you that said, we cannot discuss it. We, that means more than one. So if we can't discuss it, you either had it in a sunshine violation or you had it in an executive session, in which case it should have been noted, and we should see minutes from that, and you're going to tell me it's a litigated issue and you can't discuss it. What you can't discuss is the logistics of the case, not what leads up to the financing of the case. So for us to have to pay an attorney to represent a non-citizen in a lawsuit is ridiculous. Okay, and I know you're not, here's an email from Commander Aquino back in 2015. Good afternoon. Officer Makudo was served with a lawsuit. The chief wants to inquire if the city can represent him and assist in this matter. Well, I guess I need to ask Chief Roll if he'll help me with my legal fees, because I have them. Nobody's subsidizing mine. And I know you're not going to answer it, but two other issues that cost us dearly. We've got Mr. McDonough versus you. We got a Mr. Hill versus you. And if you follow them, you'll notice that there's probably more than $250,000 in legal fees. I know that in Mr. McDonough versus the city, I sat in a hearing 2 weeks ago where two city attorneys against Mr. McDonough. Here he is pro se. Here we got two high-priced attorneys sitting here hearing a case, and they're trying to throw it out. Guess what? They didn't throw it out. And guess what? It's coming back. You're going to wind up paying his fees, and you're going to wind up finding out that the charges of some of your stuff levied on him for search of records was in violation. Okay, you also got a Mr. Hill. Guess what? They also wouldn't dismiss that, which you tried to get dismissed, and you're going to pay for his as well. Guess who gets rich? The city lawyers. Nobody else. We're paying those guys to sit there, and they don't care. They just let the clock run, and they just keep sending bills. Over $100,000 on one lawsuit alone, and that was from 6 months ago. And that didn't include the last hearing. Thank you. Thanks for spending our money.
Mayor,
Mr. Manager?
A couple of things here. I think what we've seen is, and I think it's good when we have public participation. You've had several residents come down tonight saying certain things, but sometimes they don't have all the information, or sometimes they get it wrong, or sometimes what they say is factually inaccurate. And so when it comes to opinions, I try to, people have a right to an opinion, and they should say what they want, and that's God bless America. But when people come and say they pay $400 on their water bill and it's not true, I have an obligation to say it's not true. And so with Mr. Powell, I think he's made some comments tonight, but he doesn't have all the facts. And there's a reason why he wouldn't have all the facts, is because somebody has sued us. In fact, the person, at least one of the parties that he's talking about that has sued us numerous times and sued a lot of people. And case after case, we win. And we win, and we win, and we win, and we win because we have good lawyers. The reason why we get legal fees charged to us is because we get bogus lawsuits come our way, and they're either going to pay somebody for something that they're not entitled to, or we're going to fight it and we're going to win. So the decision here, time and time again, has been we fight when we're right. And it turns out that most of the time we win. I can't predict what's going to happen with other cases. I just know we've been winning a lot, and I know that we win a lot because we have good lawyers, and I just find it hilarious, not Mr. Powell, because he's not one that sued, but some of the others that would sue us then would come and complain about legal fees when they're the ones that are causing the legal fees. And one thing I do know is that if we don't fight these bogus charges, what ends up happening is we'll get a whole lot more, and will cost a lot more than legal fees over time. So, Mr. Powell, the reason why nobody will talk to you about the specifics of this particular case is because right now it's in litigation, and like everything else, what we do is we follow the advice of our attorneys because there's a legal process, and you will find over and over again, because you're sitting in the course, in the particular one that you sat in, you saw, we won a lot of those cases, and we continue to win, but we're not going to talk about anything regarding a pending legal matter, the specifics of. And when the case is over, if you still have questions, we're happy to answer all those questions for you. And of course, any time that council meets in executive session, when the case is concluded, whatever records are there, those are open to the public as well. So we're happy to do that. Mayor, the other thing I want to mention is what I don't want to have happen, if anybody was watching tonight, is when they saw a resident say, oh, I pay $400 in water, okay? I can tell you right now, I don't think it's appropriate for me to read the bill, because I had staff look at the bill because they gave the address and they announced what they said. So I felt it was important to look at it because it was clear that there was an error there. I'm not going to get into the specifics other than I don't want anybody here watching thinking that their water bill is $400 for a family of four. It just isn't, and it won't be with these new changes. So the resident that spoke, we're happy to sit down. I believe if she sat down with us today and we showed her the record I have right now in my possession, she would see she's got nothing to worry about. And that's about all I'll say at this, other than I can assure you she's not paying $400 for water, and it's not even in the hundreds of dollars. It's what I think may happen to some over time, which is why I think Councilman Roth mentioned this, is the way we bill people for all of the services that we charge them for. It's all in one bill. So whether it's sanitation, if you have Homestead Electric, it's water, it's sewer, it's other charges, it's all in one bill. Now, We know what the downside to that is. You look at it and you see a large number. In this case, it could be $400 and I'm not saying this particular resident, but if you had Homestead Electric or you had sanitation or whatever you're being billed for, if you looked at your bill and it was $400 and you're thinking, oh, that's my water bill, then I can understand why somebody would be upset. But I think anybody that wants to call us, we'll go through the bill. The increases, the changes that you adopted tonight have nothing to do with sanitation. They have nothing to do with electric. A lot of the charges on that bill will not be impacted by this at all. It's really just the ones that we discussed today. And Julio, because I don't want to be, I think it's unseemly to talk about somebody's specific bill, but can you at least attest to the fact that this individual is not paying $400 for water?
I can tell you how much more she's going to be paying per month.
Okay, let's do that.
$12.
Okay, thank you.
This other comment card, a major, it's a gentleman in the, it's about a robbery, or I've got a phone number and an address. I'll leave this with the clerk for you if you can take this up with him and find out what his issue was. Obviously, we ran too long, so. Mr. Manager, any other business from you at this point?
Yeah, the one other thing, it's a terrible segue since we've been talking about lawyers, and I would like to pass over most of my time to Matt Pearl, our city attorney, but we had a terrible loss on Sunday in Gail Sirota, who, her presence is still in this room. I look at that table and I see her, and she's done so much for the city over such a long period of time, way before my time and most of you. Most every major deal in the city that we've worked on, she's been a part of. And so there was, I'd say, about 1,000 people at her service today. I know many of you attended, and I know the staff and Colonel and the Chief, anybody, the staff members that attended as well to pay their respects. Thank you for that. I know the police assisted with some of the traffic over there as well. And Mayor Cordino, Joe, you did a terrific job up there on behalf of the city of Pinecrest. And so I'd rather Matt speak a little bit about Gail, other than to say special person, a tragic loss, and we're sorry to see her go. We're going to miss her terribly.
Yeah, I was just going to ask for your permission to sort of recognize that we lost an integral part of both the firm of Weiss Sirota and the city of Homestead this past week. Gail has been working for the city for over 25 years, and every project that the city has completed, she was instrumental in getting it across the finish line, dating back to the Speedway, this building, Seminole Theater, the police station, the new Homestead station, the legwork on the library. She was dedicated to this city. While she did work across the state of Florida, she was, a brilliant lawyer and, very sought after. She had a connection to Homestead. It was like her longest running relationship, and she had real personal relationships with the staff and the people who sit on this dais. And she rooted for your success in a way that you just didn't see in other areas. And I think that it was a real testament to the relationship that she had with this city to see so many of the city staff attend her service today, and members of the council and the police department for stepping up and assisting with some of the arrangements. I think it really meant a lot, and the support that everybody gave to both, Joe at the passing and the firm as a whole has been great. And she's going to be sorely missed, and Gail's absence leaves a huge hole in the city, and I hope that over time we can try and fill it. But the mark that she left here is indelible, as the projects that she helped usher through will be here for decades, if not longer. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her contributions to the city and thank you all for your support this week.
Thank you, sir, and obviously Weiss and Sirota in general, the entire team has been an integral part of Homestead and the success of Homestead. And like you said, Gail was there at if she wasn't here, she was behind helping Joe in other ways as well. So it does leave a big hole in our process. I mean, Gail was the go-to guy. She was she was leading all of our real estate deals, and we're not done. So it's going to be a big hole for Weiss and Sirota to fill going forward, and Mr. Manager to fill. So it's a devastating loss to us personally. So, but it was a nice tribute to this Sirota family that to see the massive amount of people that showed up today to pay respects to Gail and to Joe and to the family, and tough, really tough. But thank you for the words, and Mr. Manager for the words as well. Ms. Fairclough, any business tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. No business tonight. I just wanted to give my condolences to the Sirota family and Weiss Sirota. I've been devastated since I heard of her passing, and I made it a priority to be there today and to see the amount of people that were there to celebrate her homegoing was very inspiring and a testament to the lives that she has impacted. So my condolences to the family.
Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. And I too was there and echo everything that's been said. Gail was somebody that you could walk up to, and no matter what, she never looked down upon you. She always took your opinion, your thoughts. She may polish them up and make them better for you, but she always took them and made them better for whoever she was working with. And the stories that were told today were very touching, and were exactly on point today. So my condolences out to the entire firm. And that. On another note, Pedro, I know Dennis isn't here tonight, and you're sitting there. I've been approached by AYSO, and I think Vice Mayor Shelley was out there last week, or 2 weeks ago, I think, for the closing ceremony, and there were 2,000 people at least that attended, with kids that play soccer. And unfortunately, I've said this over and over for the years. One idea that they have, and I think could be converted at a reasonable rate of money, or somehow we could do something, is to take from the back portion of the back two fields, baseball fields, where the concession stand is over there, and take those back two, sod over the clay, or do whatever, maybe pull a little bit of that clay out of there and put some dirt in there, remove the two bullpens and the backstops that are only used sparingly, for something that I don't think draws as many people or as many kids to this city activities as the AYSO is at this particular time, and see if we could maybe come up with some kind of plan for over there, because they are in dire need of fields, and unfortunately we don't have them. And this Saturday, the All-Star kids are wanting to go play practice as they get ready for their All-Star stuff, and they can't even practice because there's a softball tournament there. And I feel bad for the kids. I understand that the softball tournament comes in, but I can't see it taking precedence over something where our youth are out there doing it throughout the year for our citizens. And I know most of the softball teams that come in are not local people. I'm sure some of them are, and I appreciate them going out there and using it. But these kids are the kids that live here and play here, and we've got to get them and pay the taxes here. Their families do. So we've got to look at finding a way of coming up with a better plan for them out there, especially now that they're doing 2 seasons a year, not just 1. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Sir. Mr. Roth?
Just one announcement. This Saturday is the lighting of the Christmas tree in Losner's Park. Santa will be there. And it's a free event. I believe they got a movie in the park as well. But it's become a pretty big tradition in downtown Homestead. Lighting of the Christmas tree, I believe it starts about 6 o'clock. It goes on until about 10 o'clock at night. Free to public. So come on out, support Homestead Main Street, and enjoy an evening out. It's going to be kind of chilly, I think, that day, too. So bring a sweater. You might need it.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report on, but more of just kind of following up on, some of the discussion that happened today. I kind of took a step back, and listen, this is America. You have the right to say what you want to say. A resident, felt the need to come up and speak, and because of concern what she had. I think what I don't like is, the fact that she mentioned that, our minds were made up. That kind of hit me in the chest when she said that. And then, in a sense, my mind was made up. But, I want the folks to know that, we took a lot of time and effort in order to plan and discuss and go over. And, if I had missed a meeting, there was other meetings to make sure that we were fully informed of the information that was before us in which we had to make a decision. And everything is always done the same way. I mean, that's why we've had success all these last 9, 10 years with our this manager, this staff, and this council. And so, the folks don't see the amount of work and the size of the books that we go through. I do PDF because I like trees and I'm digital, but folks, this is the size of the book that we go through, a couple of times. And yes, we did sign up to do this. We take pride in serving our community. It's what makes me happy to know that I made a difference in someone's life, and I always try to do things that are going to make a positive impact in their lives. And so, I kind of took a step back when she mentioned that, because we get this book, twice a month. And we spend weekends and hours and time and meetings to sit down and go over this and make sure that we are fully informed of the decisions that we're going to make. And so I don't want the folks out there think that, yeah, we come already with our minds made up, but they were made up because we did our homework. And that's what the message I'd want to put out, in defense of what was mentioned. Maybe in the sense of being upset and excited about something, maybe it came off wrong, but it's something that I kind of took offense to, because I think we all dedicate a lot of time and effort into our city because we love it. We want to make sure it's successful. And, like anything else, making hard decisions, they don't come easy. And we're not looking for pats on the back. We're looking to make decisions that impact people's lives for the better. And so I say that, as well as I'll kind of talk about fire back in the sense of, Mr. Powell, comes down upon our law firm all the time, and the decisions that we just sit back and let them do as they please. And again, I take offense to that because we don't do that. When you want the best, you pay good money. No one goes, that has to go to court for whatever reason, picks up, looks up the cheapest lawyer with no experience in order to represent them. You look for the best, and because your life is on the line or your freedom or whatever is on the line, and there's a cost to it. Those folks went to a lot of school and pay a lot of money, to be able to charge what they charge. And so, we have executive sessions, and we discuss in length, what's happening, behind the scenes that folks don't even know. I remember when I first started getting executive sessions, my concern was like, if you fold on anyone, the word will spread out like wildfire. Someone falls and trips, and they're going to line up with lawsuits. And matter of fact, it was happening in a certain way here, and I won't discuss that with detail at all. But we had to take a stand to make sure that the message gets out that we're not going to just let anyone come here and think that they're going to come and sue us for whatever reason, and because this happens a lot. And so, again, we take time to go to executive sessions, to sit down, to hear the issues and discuss them, to make an informed decision. So if we have made a decision as a council, it's not any individual, as a body, to represent an individual, or it's because we made that decision and allowed it to happen for good reason. And yes, you're right, Mr. Manager, we have won, and we won because we have good lawyers. And so I kind of want to take a stand for our law firm that I am proud to have. And you know, yeah, I saw the bill the first time when I first got on council and said it's this much, but they do a lot of work here. Now, at the same token, I've seen some in-house lawyers in cities in Miami-Dade County that I'm like, what the heck is going on? Sad and scary. And I could only imagine what their bills are for, and having, you know, some internal lawyers that are, I believe have cost more money and have made some poor decisions, which I watch. I'm one of those kind of city nerds, geeks that will sit there watching on stream live all, you know, Pinecrest or City of Miami, you know, the county commission. I get them all. I get all the notifications because I sit in front of 5 monitors and there's one playing, and I watch them all. And let me tell you, we do a heck of a job here. But what's happening out there? Whoa. I grab my popcorn when I'm watching it. So, but anyways, for Weiss Roeder and his staff, and, you know, my condolence on what happened. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. I wanted to go out there, and I understand what is the loss of losing, Joe's losing his wife. I lost my wife, and so my heart goes out to him. I know the pain that's there and the void that he'll have, but, you know, at least they know that we love them and that we're here for them, and so please pass the message on that we're here for their support. That's it for me, my rant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor? Nothing tonight? Well, that was easy. Under my business, I have 3 different appointments at your request: Southwest Advisory, Firemen's Pension Board, and Education Committee. Is there a motion to accept those? Is there a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Got one thing, Mr. Manager, as we talk about lighting tonight, you know, we've walked Chrome Avenue late at night, and we've talked about how, I mean, can we just make sure that that's on track for some sort of look at lighting too? I know.
We have looked at it. The first idea came in really expensive, so we're going to look at some other alternatives. They had a beautiful idea for lighting up the whole avenue, but it was pretty expensive, so we're going to look at a few other solutions.
No problem. Last thing I'd like to do is remind everyone the state of the city, most likely my last. December 6th at 6 to 8, we're going to do it outdoors in Losner Park. The more the merrier. I think it's going to, hopefully we'll have not the weather we had last year, which was a massive monsoon that blew the tent down, and half the people couldn't even get in the building. But we put out the information on Facebook. I know we've sent out some invitations, but this is a public invite to others in the community that would like to come and participate. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.